Hello, everybody. Right. Let's just, yeah. Okay. Just need to. Untie the headphones from the wheels of the chair. Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's doing all right. And welcome to another live show. I've actually set up my DXing PL990X with the antenna right here. And I can punch in frequencies to test out directly on that if I want. Of course, in the back, I was tuned to Voice of America 15570 that I believe is now off. Or it's weaker. There's 15770. Yeah, 15770.
And so, in the next chapter,
is on WRMI. So I'll have that I can actually punch in frequencies. And, of course, I have
that they were unable to see the truth.
The good old DXing PL 990X to tune around. Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. And this is the Shortwave show. Yes, it's the Saturday edition of the Shortwave radio show. Nice to have all of you here and hope that you enjoy the show today. Let me take a sip of my drink. I have been in a hectic day. I had to go out this morning to do a few things. Then the Zoom meeting for CIDX. And then I had to go out again, and surprise, surprise, half of the snow that was on the borderline of the roof fell into the entry. So I had to shovel unexpectedly so that people can go through before going back to get a few things that I needed. And now here I am. It's time now to get a little more relaxed. So here is cheers, vodka and cranberry. Nice to have everybody on board. So my name is Jean, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and this is the Saturday edition of the Shortwave radio stream. We talk about radio. We answer questions. We have fun with radio. We just enjoy our wonderful hobby of radio listening. And this is cool because, I think we don't say it enough that so many people aren't, find this a very solitary thing. And it's fun to have this gathering where we all are together and have fun. I am in New Year's, we're in February, but when I get into New Year's, there's always this reflection about what to do with my shortwave channels, what direction I'm going to give them. I want to make this shortwave channel go even further ahead of what it is right now. Even though it's already pretty cool. It's the shortwave channel is an amazing place. I haven't looked at the stats in a long time. So if I go into my my statistics here, so we're at 26,749 subscribers, which is pretty good. Pretty good. And I am in, let me just check out here. And we're at more than 7 million views, which is really nice. Really nice, honestly. So this is pretty surprising, pretty interesting when you look at it, that a shortwave dedicated channel has 6,953,510 views, so almost 7 million views. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool when you think about it. 7 million views for a shortwave channel, I think, is a pretty good number, and it's kind of nice to see all of this. And of course, we're going to if we're going to check out other avenues and other things I can add to the channel that would be of interest. And of course, if you guys have any ideas, do send them out to officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com, or just comment below videos that I post. It'd be fun if you do this or that. It gives me directions to go, because sometimes one of the things that people don't understand is when you do YouTube all the time, you post stuff, but you can lose a sense of direction at some point. You're kind of all over the place, and you're not, there's obviously some videos and some things that I do are much more popular than others. And obviously, this is something that I look at quite a lot. And of course, if I can post videos and do things that everybody, finds cool, that's the fun of it also at the same time. And so my name is Gilles, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And 6 million are tuning to shortwave. 1 million are fans of Paul the Cat. I have the impression sometimes that the number could be actually the other way around. There's 6 million Paul the Cat fans and 1 million for the shortwave. So anyways, we are, of course, going to tune the bands, do all sorts of little things today to answer questions and just have fun. I think this is the basic of this channel, the basics of the live show is, can we just have fun? And who cares? No, there's enough crap going on different subject topics and whatever in the world that if we can just have fun with radio, how about it? Hey, I think it's a great thing. So nice to have everybody on board. There's a wonderful chat room for those that are joining in. If you have a Gmail account, you can actually join in the chat room, which is really nice, and has wonderful people, all wonderful people that are here to help. And if you are, if you find that after the show, there's kind of a withdrawal syndrome, I'll call it like that. You have the live show and everybody's like hyped up and it's fun, and we tune around and we have, some real good time together. And then what happens is that you get to a point where you're, the show ends and you feel like suddenly, you were in a room. I often say it. I feel, even though it's just a chat room, I have the impression of being in a room full of people. And the show ends and suddenly we're all alone. Well, there's a Facebook group, official SWL channel, which is a great place to be, that will, where it continues. And I just looked. We're this close to getting 1,500 members on the Facebook group. We're at 1,484. So 1,484 people are in that group. Wonderful people, and really, really a lot of fun to see the posts and people sharing what they're listening to, and radio questions, pictures, videos of their shacks or what they're listening to. It's really, really nice. And it's really, really cool to be here. One quick announcement that I'll repeat a few times during the show. If you are listening in or watching the show on Saturday live, next week we will not be live on Saturday. Exceptionally, the show will be on Sunday. For several reasons. Some of you will be at the virtual event of the Winter Shortwave Fest, including me, watching the different lectures and the different things that they have to offer. So the show will be on Sunday instead, which will be Sunday, February the 28th, last day of February already. And so at 20 hours Universal Time. So like that, we'll have just, you guys can just go to the Shortwave Fest and basically just focus on that. I'll be focusing on that for sure also, because there's a lot of stuff I want to see. And, we'll talk a little bit about the Shortwave Fest on Sunday. And so just make sure that you know that we are going to be live on Sunday rather than Saturday, exceptionally for next week because of the Shortwave Fest. And I think, even if I absolutely wanted to participate to the Shortwave Festival, but even if I did not, I think it's also a kind of a respect, because a lot of people would, be kind of halfway between going to the Shortwave Fest or watching my live show. And I didn't want that. And I always say I don't want to have competition. I don't want to do competition. We all have a place, and we all have a time for doing our stuff. So let's let the Shortwave Fest go on. And on Sunday, February the 28th, we'll have the live show, exceptionally on a Sunday. Some will like it, because I know that some of you are almost asking me to do the show on Sunday rather than Saturday, because it's easier for you guys. It's a tough thing to do when you do live shows, trying to do a show at a time in a day that makes it easier for everybody. There's always people somewhere that that it doesn't work, their schedules and so on, and they have to miss the show. But that's the thing. So some of you in the chat room, we've seen each other a couple of for a couple of hours earlier, because there was the Canadian International DX Club monthly Zoom meeting, which happened. It was very nice to be there. Often a lot of things that are interesting and that we talk about, and it's really, really cool. And it's really, really nice. And it's somebody asked me, and I've been thinking about it from time to time. Somebody asked me, said, you used to do out of the blue, just turn on the stream and tune the bands, and we tune together. And that I've had a few comments on that over the last month or two. And especially with the fact that now I have the console that I can drive the audio easily to the stream. A lot of you have been asking me, it'd be fun that from time to time you just turn on the camera. And you know what? It's totally possible that it will happen because you never know. Doing live shows is very demanding. So sometimes I rather take it easy a little bit, 2 times 3 hours, or roughly 3 hours, sometimes even more, is a lot of time on the air. And you got to talk and do things, even when I do a live show where I just tune the bands, I can't just, shut up and let's tune. People expect me to comment and say what they're listening to, and maybe, answer questions and stuff. But don't worry, it's something that I'm thinking about from time to time. So, who knows? There might be some surprise streams. They're probably not going to last 3 hours or 4 hours, but, surprise little streams here and there of tuning the bands and having fun, just checking it out. So this is something that I'm thinking of. And of course, a lot of comparing of the antennas and the radios and stuff going on, and a lot more I need to do also, because I get requests of many things you guys would like to see on the channel. One of the biggest problems, because somebody had told me, he said, well, you could post more more content. And I said, well, if the Shortwave channel was my only channel, yeah, I could post a lot more. But it isn't my only YouTube channel. So what happens is I have to split my time between channels. That, of course, is the good thing is I have several subjects, but the bad thing is, yeah, it limits a little more time that I have for each channel. So I gotta make a choice from time to time of where I am going to do content. Plus all the other obligations and things, for example, on Friday, it takes a lot of time. Doesn't show, but on Friday, me and Sheldon record the International Radio Report show for CKUT. And doing that takes some time. Once the show is done, it takes a good 2 hours to go through it and edit so that it looks, that the show sounds good. Removing all the little stuff that we do that there's too many of, or our personal habits of how we talk sometimes and hesitate, and sometimes we fumble on a word in the text, and we kind of restart the phrase or paragraph, and all of that, plus editing all this stuff so it fits and really fits well in a 30-minute slot. So this is something that we takes a lot of my Friday afternoon, much more than I initially thought. Editing and all is a tough. It's a long job. You got to listen. You got to go back, re-listen, redo little changes here and there, make things sound okay. So, anyways, I'm not complaining here. It's just to let you guys know of all the things that I have to do in a week is pretty amazing. So welcome aboard, everyone. Today we're going to talk about radio, of course. As always, I'm very late in the chat room most of the time. So if you are watching the show, don't forget that if you say hi, ask a question, it might take a little bit of time to answer. Somebody told me that if I could, from time to time, just mention how much behind I am, it would be nice. So I'm going to start saying hi to everybody in the chat. So that means we're roughly 19 minutes behind. So hang in there, guys. I'm going to come up to your question or say hi. Always have that comment from time to time of, yeah, well, you're ignoring me. Well, I'm not ignoring you. You just aren't patient enough. I'm far behind, and I came to your name or I said hi, So, Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. WA5107 SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana, USA. Graham, nice to have you here from Milton, Ontario. Éric Mongrain, bonjour et bienvenue de Montréal. C'est un plaisir d'avoir un autre Montréalais parmi mes auditeurs. C'est toujours agréable d'avoir quelqu'un de francophone également. Randy in Riverside, California, M1MBZ. Nice to have you here, my friend. Matt in Denver, Colorado, MDK2. Nice to have you here. Tom DXer, WPE2QED, Hudson Valley, New York. Jim Valley, Mr. Bale. Nice to have you on board from the northwest of the USA. Keegan, nice to have you here, Northwest Arkansas. It's XN80Xer. You guys are having warm weather for a change. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. C'est un énorme plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. J'espère que ça va bien dans ton coin du monde. Arthur's Alley Crafter's Kitchen, nice to have you here from Massachusetts, having a blast with a 36-year-old new old stock realistic police scanner. It's always fun to have these old radios on. I'm looking at the Patrolman radios that I have here. And one of the things I was thinking is tonight, taking some time to tune them and listen and check out what I can receive with them. It's amazing. I mean, the Patrolman CB60 is one of the first multi-bands I've ever had. I had one before, but that one was the first one that I kind of took the time to really listen in. VE2FGJ, nice to have you on board. From bienvenue, toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Brian Penny in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Nice to have you on board. Yeah, the other cat is called Mignon. Mignon, which means it's kind of a, she's a cutie. She's a, So, Mignon. Paul and Mignon. René Charbonnier, the Dutch pirate. Nice to have you on board, and always a pleasure from the Netherlands. Jean-Marc Letz, bonjour et bienvenue. Nice to have you on board. Scott Cranston, nice to have you here from Massachusetts, USA. We have Eric Cottrell. Bonjour, hi. Nice to have you on board from the Boston area, and a couple of inches is on the ground. Seems like I saw some of you only hours ago. Yes, absolutely. Ed WX2R, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Canadian radio TV guy, nice to have you on board. We have Eyebrawler from Arkansas, nice to have you here. Here, the snow is not melting right now. Well, a little bit. It's kind of warm today. We're around 32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius. But we have a lot of it. We have quite a lot of snow on the ground right now. Kev Michael, nice to have you on board. Just heard JJY Tokyo, Japan time signal on 10 megahertz. Well, from your location, it's a pretty probably a pretty easy one for you guys, for you in Hawaii there. Trimbelli, Mr. Bale, how many of us have a radio cave? You know, in a cave, that's one thing also. The radio cave is also something that is interesting because it you know, so we see these radio caves. I have my radio cave here, which is my office, which is pretty much turned into a YouTube studio now. A radio cave doesn't have to be a huge spot, and we see all these places that people, that radio fans have. Just, a radio in a little corner is your little spot, your little radio corner, radio cave. It doesn't have to be a full room. Could be just a little spot, a little corner in a room. Eric Cottrell, well, I'm happy. The Fran plugin is kind of nice, and actually I want to talk about it on the YouTube video also, which is really, really nice for displaying the station information on SDR Una. Jerry DX, nice to have you on board, Jerry. Mr. J Spring, nice to have you here from Milton, Florida, home of the famous single sideband station on 15555. Is it on at this time? I don't know if it's still on. 15555 upper sideband. Is there anything there? Oops, that's not. Not hearing anything right now, but Mark Walmsley, nice to have you on board, and the UK, and nice to have you here. Thomas Lane, nice to have you on board from frozen Grand Rapids, Michigan. Kevin, WS2H, nice to have you on board. Does the Pulse Star, anyone know if the Pulse Star still makes the ART30 receiver? I read something about Pulse Star. I don't know if they're still making it. Jeff Williams, nice to have you here from Cornwall, UK. We have Patrick Nolan, nice to have you here from Ireland. Carl Icon, nice to have you on board from New York. And we have Tarek, nice to have you here from Cairo, Egypt. Kamegzi 1976, nice to have you here from West Michigan. There should be an official Paul channel. I know a lot of you would like that, with a live cam that is on Paul all the time, so you see everything he does. I'd have to turn it off though at night, because when he gets in my bed, maybe that's not the best place to have a camera at night. Canadian Radio TV guy says Paul needs his own channel. He can do live streams every Thursday and Sunday. I'll leave Paul on live. Jim, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Kevin says we need a day in the life of Mr. Paul video as seen through Paul's eyes. That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting in the summer. If I could somehow have a way to have a very small camera filming everywhere he goes and what he does, that'd be a nice one. I was it's because of lack of time, because one of the things I actually wanted to try to do, because Paul likes to have some time with me a lot. In the daytime, he asks, he meows because he wants to have some company. And I was thinking, well, maybe we could have fun with that. And I was thinking of doing kind of a funny series calling that would call something like Paul the Cat and his radio adventures or something. And always have some radio related thing while I play with Paul the Cat. That would be probably a very popular. Mobile Armored Strike Command. Nice to have you on board. You're listening to WSKR, Paul the Cat, here as your shortwave host. Oh, man. My hello. Nice to have you here from Italy. Norm Akers. Nice to have you here from Ohio. Thanks for sharing the Shortwave Fest agenda, Tom DXer. Unfortunately, if you have... there's I don't know, there's a few other ways that we talked about today, but technically the Shortwave Fest for sending your $5 to be at the event ended on February 15th. So I don't know. John Jensen, K9WXX from Woodstock, Illinois. Jean-Marc Letz wishing a nice Saturday evening to everyone. And sunny and mild afternoon temperature in Strasbourg. Cool. That's nice for radio. Miki Dalmage, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Kev Michael, Radio Havana, Cuba, 15145 in Hawaii with good signal. Cool. We have... Keegan says remembers a show on Sunday in 2014. I had a few shows on Sunday. I remember, including last year when the confinement started. I had a few shortwave shows on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Jeff, nice to have you here from the Poconos, Pennsylvania, N2ZNN. Pretty cool. What else do we have? M-Stacks. Today's 59th anniversary of John Glenn's first trip into space, as noted by the folks launching today's resupply rocket to the International Space Station. Cool. That is cool. I was watching this week when the Perseverance rover landed on Mars. That was something. It's always something to watch, and it's funny to think that as they are showing us, all the at the last few minutes of everything that's happening, and that in reality, while we are getting these signals saying, okay, we got separation, we got this, we got that, the rover has already landed, so it's already on the surface because of the 11-minute delay of getting the signals from Mars, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, Wizard of Oz, nice to have you on board from Wisconsin, Ozzy, KC9TVN. Joe Rutman, nice to have you here from Chicago. What else do we have? Tom the Exorcist was in Japan once and did some DXing with his Sony 2010. Got a Russia 153, 243, 279 kilohertz. Cool. That must be fun too. Something that I've never really done. Go around the world in different countries and tune the shortwave bands and tune everywhere, because you want to know what's on the medium wave and on long wave, on FM. That's kind of cool. Malcolm Lewis, nice to have you on board from Wales in the UK. PL 660 arriving Monday from Anonco. Hoping it's a good radio. You're going to like it. It's a really, really good. PLF Radio says, what do you think of the new wideband? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that, made me a little curious. The problem I have with this radio is the fact that I have the 737 and it's so bad in performance that I am hesitant in getting a 747. I did buy, but it looks interesting, and they call it a radio scanner because honestly, the frequency range goes up to 500 megahertz or something, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. It looks interesting. And I might I might buy it. I don't know. We'll see. I did purchase something very, very unusual this week as a radio, so I'm still waiting for you guys know as for Texan PL 368. And so let me just go here for a second. I purchased on eBay something that someone posted. It is not branded or anything. All it says, it's an all-band radio receiver with SSB, and it's a little black box with no brand on it, nothing. And it has a knob in front. It seems to be some kind of almost homemade device that is so I'm going to share this here. So this is the Canada website, but you guys might find it interesting to see this. I don't know. There's a link. Check it out. It's I don't know. I found it interesting and I decided, well, you know what? Let's go ahead. And I purchased it. We'll see. We'll see what it is, and we'll see how it goes, and if it's any good or anything. I thought, well, you know what? Okay, let's just see what it is. Apart from that, still waiting for my Texan PL 368, which I can't wait to get. It's going to be interesting to test out. I've had several questions of people asking me how I find the antenna multi-coupler. It's a great device. Somebody asked me, so why didn't you buy just, an antenna switch or whatever? I do have antenna switch, but I don't want to have one radio and switch to the other radio. I want to have the radios all running the same antenna at the same time, which is a very different thing than switching from one radio to the other. So for that purpose, it's really, really good. Right now, just to give you guys an idea, my Texan PL990X that's right next to me here is running on the MLA30 like the RSPDX there, because they're both plugged into the multi-coupler. And I still have two other ports left. I can plug in another portable, an SDR, the AirSpy. I can plug in, one of the desktops in the back. I'm very, very happy because it's nothing like having the same signal at the same time to really, really compare and not having to switch between one or the other. It's honestly a very good device because there's a lot of people saying, well, it's expensive. Well, it's expensive, but it does very well what it needs to do. I can tell you that. What else do we have? Rufus, nice to have you here from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Keegan's got up to 6 inches of snow in Northwest Arkansas. M Stacks, my dad recorded long-term CBS radio coverage of 1962 Glen flight. Cool. So Kev Michael had the Shortwave 60. I have both, actually. I have the CB60 and the Shortwave 60. The CB60 is the one my dad had purchased. The Shortwave 60, I saw it on eBay for like $20. And I thought, you know what, $20? I'll have the little cousin. They're actually the same radio. The only difference is on the Shortwave 60, you put shortwave from 6 to 18 megahertz, something like that. On a CB60, what you get is the 40 channels of the CB band, which is kind of funny. I don't know why they made a they made two radios with a different coverage. They could have just done the shortwave 60 and that's it. But it's kind of interesting. Maybe in different markets, I don't know. I was wondering if it was because maybe here at that time CB was popular still. Maybe they thought that'd be a better offer for the market in Montreal or in Canada. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird when you think about it. Why do they do three radios with the same with the different coverage? It's like I understand the one on the DX 100. So the realistic DX 100, which started all my passion for shortwave, was here. I got medium wave and shortwave coverage, but there's a DX 100L, and from what I see is that instead of medium wave, it actually covers long wave, which is kind of interesting. So two different versions. Probably that one was for Europe or something. Kind of interesting. Jim Gordon, nice to have you on board. Nice and mild in Scotland. Snow has melted. Does snowing affect shortwave reception propagation? Not really. When we talk weather in general, apart from the fact that thunderstorms create static crashes, overall, when you're in low frequencies like shortwave, the weather outside does not change your propagation. There's pretty much no effect as it's snowing or raining or a beautiful day. It's much more the solar conditions, the propagation conditions that will be really having an effect than any other things. Higher in frequency, there is an effect, though. The higher you go in frequency, the more the weather can actually have a effect on your reception. And actually, those that have TV through satellite dishes know that heavy snow, often your reception gets down to zero because of the attenuation of these very high frequencies due to the weather. So that, the higher in frequency you go, the more there is an interaction between the weather and the propagation of signals. Absolutely. But below 30 megahertz in general, we kind of pretty much go with the fact that there isn't any difference in propagation, whether it's snowing, whether it's raining. Really, the only effect, like I said, that we have below 30 megahertz is summertime. We might have static crashes from thunderstorms. And shortwave being shortwave, remember that static crashes 1,000 miles away are going to be heard on your receiver because they propagate. That crash will propagate like a shortwave signal. Kev Michael, using a Sony ICF 7600 and a St. Gian 909X for shortwave. Cool. Two great radios. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board. Says, I can't believe I missed the opening. But you know what? You're here, and that's what's important. Random Clons, nice to have you here from Chicagoland. Ikadarius, nice to have you on board. RBAZ says Palstar R30 is still listed on their website, so technically they should be making it. Kevin Michael hearing 8843 USB San Francisco air traffic. Cool. I'm not sure I've ever received air traffic control from the West Coast here in Montreal. I hear here in Montreal, the air traffic frequencies that I listen to. I hear New York. I hear Gander, Newfoundland. I heard Shanwick in I believe it's Ireland. I've heard a few stations from Europe, which is kind of normal because remember the air traffic control stations tend to broadcast a directional signal towards the ocean that the planes fly over. So San Francisco ATC will be broadcasting over the Pacific away from here. So And these are not very strong stations compared to, international broadcasts, for example. So it's something also that you got to keep in mind. That is something that could happen. Sorry, guys. I had to sneeze. So basically, I hear mostly the Atlantic stuff. I think I heard the Iceland station also once. Man, this is interesting. That's what I get for petting Paul the cat for too long. Okay. What else do we have? Joe Michaels, nice to have you here from London, Ontario. Cool. Jim Bally, Mr. Bell, hang a small GoPro from Paul's collar. Yeah. Actually, you know what? It would answer a lot of questions. Because in the wintertime, because of the snow, Paul doesn't go anywhere. Because he can't, there's no spot under because he goes out through the backyard. And there's a fence. So the problem in winter is the fence with the snow. He usually goes under the fence. There are 2 or 3 spots where he can actually fit and go under the fence and go to the neighbors' yards. But in the wintertime, because of the snow, he can't go under the fence anymore. So he ends up just going on the balcony in the back. He goes on the balcony downstairs, but he doesn't go anywhere else. And he doesn't dare try to go in the snow, especially now. Where the stray cat is so funny because the stray cat is moving in that snow like a snowplow. You see the snow move everywhere, and you see that trace where she goes everywhere when she comes over here, which is kind of funny. But she climbs on the fence. She has her claws, so she climbs on the fence up to the top and jumps over it. Paul the cat doesn't have his front claws. He can't climb. So he can't really go over the fence. And he did once, I think it was last year, and it was a very interesting thing to watch. He had found that there was a box at the end of the yard. That box gave him just enough so he can jump on the fence. But he was not super successful when he would jump on that fence, and he would it was like I looked at him and I was like, man, Paulie's gonna hurt himself. It's just crazy. Another time he jumped over and he was not even able to just stay on the fence. He just fell over to the other side, but there was a lot of snow, so it just, it was okay. So I guess he's like, well, you know what? I'm not going to attempt that anymore. And he's a big cat now, so he probably doesn't have all that agility that he had when he was smaller. But the stray cat does, and it's fun to watch. And sometimes I look in the backyard, and the stray cat is just walking on the thin pipe on top of the fence, which is just so funny to watch. But in the summertime, he goes sometimes for a few hours. And I'm always curious, where do you go exactly? Where do you go? I really, really would like. I've been thinking of different solutions, different things. One was a GPS collar that it displays on your phone everywhere that he went on the map, which is kind of interesting. But a GoPro would be cool, just to see where are you going exactly. Who are you meeting? I know that Paul goes to see the neighbors because my neighbors all know Paul the cat. They all know it's my cat. And they all tell me how beautiful he is and how really sweet Paul the cat is. But I would like to see where he goes, what he does when he goes out for a couple of hours. Sometimes, and especially when you own a cat and you love your cat, when the cat's gone for like 5 hours, you start getting worried, hope nothing happened to the cat, because you don't know where he is. And then someday, at one moment when it's been a long time, I remember one day last year, he got out at 10 a.m. and it was almost midnight. And he I had not seen Paul all day, which is very exceptional. Man, it was midnight. I was worried. I didn't even want to go to bed because I was like, well, maybe he's gonna want to come home, And I'm doing something, and I always leave the door a little slightly open in the back in the summer. And I'm in my office here doing stuff on the computer, and suddenly I see Paul the cat show up, and I was like, where you been? You've been gone for 12, 14 hours. What the hell did you do? But I know that he goes to other people's houses because sometimes there's somebody who's going to say, oh, your cat spent the afternoon on my couch. I was like, oh, okay. If you don't like it, just, throw him out. And they're all like, no, it was nice. He just slept on the couch for a couple of hours and then he left. He asked for the door. And I was like, oh, okay. Chuck CP Davis, Paul the Cat's radio adventure would make a good cartoon. Yeah, that would be nice. Absolutely. That reminds me of Simon's Cat. Anybody that has a cat probably knows about Simon's Cat on YouTube, because we all watch Simon's Cat on YouTube. We all watch the cat and the way he reacts, and you're all like, yep, that's a cat. It's really, really good. If you have anybody that owns a cat and you don't know about Simon's Cat, go check Simon's Cat on YouTube. It's really, really worth it. It's really, really nice. Kevin Michael says NBN Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia was on at 10 p.m. Hawaii on 12/15. Wow. It must be such an interesting thing. I need to go to Hawaii sometime. We'll meet up in person and we'll DX. I'll bring some radios. I need to do that someday. Paranoan says, my cat Yoda says hello to Paul. Yoda will be 16 next month. Wow. Paul, I'm not exactly sure, but in June, it's already going to be 6 years since he showed up here for the first time. So time really flies. Joseph Nusser says 15580 Voice of America coming in clear from Botswana. René Charbonnier, the Dutch Pirates, singing a strange signal on 3731 lower sideband. What does it sound like? Newman 721, nice to have you on board. It's so fortunate for us that we can ask a very experienced person whatever question we can think of. Yeah, and there's, it's and like I say all the time, we're not. I don't know everything, but there are people in the chat room that do know some aspect of the radio hobby I don't know a lot about. I'm not the best guy to answer questions about antennas, for example. I'm more of a try and it's a trial and error type guy. Let's just throw the wire that way and see what happens. But there are very knowledgeable people out there. I've been looking at what I'm going to do, because I told you guys that I have registered for a Zoom a virtual ham radio course that will be in April. And of course, that means that it will end with me having my ham radio license. One of the things I've been starting to look at is I do have the FT450 transceiver. So all I will be missing is a good antenna to go on HF. So, I've been looking a little more interestingly at what is in there. RTM, nice to have you on board from the Napa Valley, California, where I often have wine coming from that area, especially sparkling wine. Nora, nice to have you on board. You was visiting a city in Finland where there's an old shortwave station. What has some wood carvings art around the yard, but didn't go check it. Sad, I need to go there in the summer then. Cool, yeah, that must be an interesting place. Mickey Delmage, 15555 as USB weak, but readable. K's reaching 7 as latitude. Yeah, there's a solar wind, fast solar stream. It was supposed to hit tomorrow Sunday, February 21st. It seems to have arrived faster than they thought. So if shortwave is a little crappy today and tomorrow, don't be surprised. If I look here right now, chances of storm today. So they're saying that G1 class geomagnetic storms could happen actually today. And the K index, according to here, is at unsettled. K is 7 right now, but that's from Boulder, which is to the south of Mickey. Mickey's, of course, closer to the auroral zone, so the K index tends to get higher around that area. So if propagation isn't the best, it's not it's possible that it's because of this solar wind stream that actually is arriving faster than we thought. So if you have clear skies and are close to the north or south pole conditions, there might be some auroras. Who knows? So what else do we have? PLF radio, it's 11 minutes. That's 30 seconds. To 11 minutes. This radio signal at the speed of light from Mars to here took 11 minutes to get here on when we were watching on, what was it, Wednesday? Not Wednesday, Thursday. And I'm all messed up in the days now. Tuesday? I don't remember which day it was. What else do we have? The 18th. So it was Wednesday. Salut Vince, bienvenue. J'espère que tu vas bien de montagne. To have you on board from close to Montreal. Kev Michael remembers shortwave merry-go-round on Swiss Radio International, the 30 meters back day. Oh man, that is there's a few recordings of that on the internet, and man, that of course is really brings back memories. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you on board from Greenfield Park, Quebec. Coyote Arcane, as somebody who is new to the shortwave radio and I'm using the U20 web SDR, is there a specific radio for scanning the shortwave bands like on the SDR? Well, it's simply having a radio that is capable of listening to shortwave, mostly. Now, one of the biggest problem for you being a newcomer to the hobby, you've been treated with something that is exceptional, which is the U20 web SDR. That web SDR is amazing in how well it receives. And one thing that I'm scared sometimes when I tell people, well, if you want to have a glance at what shortwave is all about, use one of the SDRs online, the Kiwi SDRs and so on. Some of them are so good that what I am afraid of is that when you get your own radio, you might actually be a little disappointed because you're going to say, well, I don't receive a quarter of what I get on these SDRs. And it's like, yeah, because it's, they are just amazingly well positioned, low noise, good antennas, or a good setup. And that's something that, yeah, it might be a disappointment after using an SDR. So would you be interested in what you could, maybe we could ask as a question here is, would you be interested in having a portable radio that does it, or you would like an SDR connected to your computer that does it? That would be probably the first question. Mr. J Spring says enjoys your videos using regular radios. A lot of people told me that. It's hard. It's something sometimes that you can forget. Honestly, because what happens is you have you do videos with the radios you have, and I tend to use a lot of my SDR because of the visual aspect. Honestly, what makes me stay at the SDR is the visual. The visual. Honestly, remove the waterfall, remove the visual aspect. I would be back on my ICOM, or I would be back in a portable radio. it's the visual that keeps me here because I can see signals appear on the waterfall and click on them, and I know there's something there. And the thing with that is it's amazing because I don't know how many signals I found that I never, that Morse code signal that I posted a couple of weeks ago where we don't know where it comes from. That Morse code signal is because I could see the Morse code going down the waterfall that I was curious. I clicked. What's that? I don't recall any signals there usually. The visual aspect made me click on it. I would never have heard it probably if it was not from an SDR. And I got to say, that is a huge advantage. But that said, remove the waterfall, the visual. I have less of an interest in SDR suddenly, although the reception works well and everything and the control of the computer, I would still probably use for the fun of it. But the visual aspect is a lot of what an SDR experience is all about. Scott Creston, what's the shell antenna? I think it's because, I don't know, they're calling the shell antenna that little telescopic that's with it. I don't know, something like that. So I don't know what that thing is at all worth, but we'll see. Tarek, I remember the look on the face of the guy in the reception of our hotel in Jakarta when me and Mauro Vitala asked him to go to the roof to check frequencies. We were accompanied by a couple of the security. Okay. Keegan says, I'm in the corner of the kitchen where I have radios. Yep, that's your little shack, your little spot. It's your little man cave that's there. On a shelf is a Sony CFD 510 CD radio cassette quarter from 1994, given to me by my dad, W9JEF, in December 2020, 5 days before Christmas. Cool. Yeah, it is an interesting thing. It seems to be very homemade as a radio, and I'm just curious. And at the price, I thought, yeah, you know what? I want to try it. Erica Chaw saw someone post a picture of that all band radio on Facebook recently. That's where I saw it also, Eric. When I purchased it, I saw that picture also. And I saw a comment, somebody saying, well, kind of looks interesting. And of course, we have no info, no nothing. And I looked at it and I looked at the price and I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's buy it. And we'll see. It could be crappy and I just wasted, Canadian dollars at like 80 Canadian dollars. So I wasted 80 Canadian dollars. But it looks interesting. I don't know. Golicon says SI 4735. It could. It totally could. For sure. M Stacks, those Kiwi SDR radios online allow for virtual listening of local medium wave. Oh, absolutely. I've done that so many times. I'm particularly fascinated at all the signals in Europe on medium wave at night. Keegan has his AM radio transmitter, part 15, in the kitchen that I believe rebroadcasts the International Radio Report also at the same time. Maybe a neighbor is listening to that and is like, what the hell? Nick Amandel, nice to have you here from Romania. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. Yeah, I saw the TU-80 FM tuner. Kind of interesting. Imagine if I had unlimited funds. I would purchase everything I see. That would be totally crazy. I would die in a pile of radios. It's like, So you want to have a bed of roses? No, I want to have a bed of radios. Rob's, nice to have you here from Phoenix, Arizona. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you on board from Los Angeles, California. Isn't it great to see all the audience from all around the world? It's really, really cool. Kev Michael, the Patrolman 9 would be great. Bands from AM to UHF 500 megahertz also with SSB mode. Oh, that's nice. With single sideband. Mr. J Spring, if weather does not affect much on shortwave, then why does it sound better when it's raining? It's more of a it's it's easy to pinpoint a weather pattern to listening experience. And remember that propagation on shortwave changes all the time. So it's probably because some of the times you were listening when it's raining was mostly because propagation that time, that day was better and simply better. Because it's, when I was a teen, kind of a moment where I thought, oh, I have the impression of hearing Radio Moscow better when it's raining or things like that. And after a while, you notice when you listen a lot and look at the temperature and the patterns that go with it, you end up noticing that there isn't really any difference. But it's easy to fall into a sense of a pattern that it must be better at a different thing with a different weather pattern. It's raining, it's sunny, it's snowing. Because you might have an experience where it's simply because the days that it rained by chance were the same days when propagation was actually pretty good. So it's kind of difficult, but it's pretty much given that the weather itself doesn't, in low frequencies like that, doesn't really have much of an effect. 45 unit. Nice to have you on board. Cool and windy in Florida. Glad you finally got a multicoupler and enjoy the videos of it being used. And more coming up. Lee Burkett, nice to have you here. Been auctioning for a Texan PL 365. Cool. You're going to have fun. It's, the only negative side to it, there's two little negative things on it. One is a lack of a keypad. It's kind of it's a tough one to tune around. If you want to listen to something on 27 megahertz, good luck. You're going to have you're going to pressing that up down button a lot, or trying to go up with the tuning button, but it's it takes a lot of time. It's a tough one. The best way to use it properly with the different frequencies you're going to listen to is to cleverly program the memory channels with frequencies that are close to places you listen all the time. Because lack of a keyboard is probably a keypad is probably the biggest problem with the Texan PL365, which, by the way, is the same as the Conicom GP5. The other thing, just know that if you don't leave alkaline batteries in it, for a very simple reason, it drains batteries a lot, even when not used. So it's not much of a problem in my case, for example, because it drains rechargeable batteries, which I just have to recharge. But it's something to know, because if you leave alkaline batteries, that's kind of a bummer, because you'll use the radio 2 months later and it's like, oh, the batteries are dead. That's weird. It's some kind of flaw in it that happens. Fitwalp, nice to have you here near Seattle, and spending some time trying out my newly delivered Belka DX this weekend. Cool. So what else do we have? Jeff King in Jacksonville, Florida. Nice to have you here. I'll try to go a little faster if I can. Victor Vasquez is using a Grundig Satellite 300 for shortwaves. It's from 1985. Eric Cottrell, Gerald de Rood on shortwave radio station listening. Yeah, that's, I think, where I saw it. About the new toy. Happy with my new toy, an Arduino-based SI4735 radio. Long wave, medium wave, shortwave FM. So that's it. It's going to be interesting to get and to see how it performs. It's going to be interesting. Kev Michael says cannot get ATC from Canada yet, but from Japan he can. Yeah, it goes with your location. Yes, Paul is way too well fed. Absolutely. It's because I listen to his needs all the time. So every time he meows for food, it's like, yeah, here's some food. It's like me. I'm getting a big belly here. Kev Michaels getting 6501 and 8764. Point Reyes, California Marine Weather. Mark Schmidt, nice to have you here from Maine. What else do we have? KW1161, nice to have you here from Tucson, Arizona. Let's try to go down. James Johnson. Yeah. The Tom Jones song, Pussycat. Yes. Mr. J Spring, I'm using a U-loop antenna and thinking getting MLA 30. Would I notice an improvement on a Discovery HF Plus? Hard to say. You know what? I regret not doing the double purchase, because when I purchased the AirSpy, it popped up with a package, and it said, well, you can buy the AirSpy and the U-loop. And I said no, and afterwards I thought, yeah, maybe I should have said yes, because I could have tested a U-loop. And I would be able to answer a question like you just have. Now, I have read a lot about the U-loop, which is a passive antenna. What I have seen on many blog posts of people that own both is that the U-loop is really good. But the MLA30 might be a little better in some aspect because it's an amplified antenna. How much better, I don't know. And it doesn't seem to be everywhere. It seems the U-loop has better performance on certain frequency ranges. The MLA30, I notice, has little spots where performance isn't that great. It's not linear. It's not equal everywhere. It has spots where you see that it's not that great here. It's not an amazing antenna at 27 megahertz, for example. And I noticed immediately, because when I turn on my CB radio here, that is right now on my sloper antenna in my backyard, and I put one of the radios on the on 27 megahertz using the MLA30. I see that my CB here gets more signals on 27 megahertz, even though it's extremely noisy. So what I noticed is that the MLA30 on 27 and a very high shortwave, it ain't that great. I can't test medium wave and long wave with the W6LVP loop that I have. But on the other edge of the scale, I noticed that the W6LVP loop seems to be better on 160 meters. So when I tune 160 meters, I get more hams out of the noise from the W6LVP. Once again, what I seem to see is that the extremes of the frequency range it covers are not that great on the MLA30. What I would see is that the W6LVP loop is more linear, but that said, W6LVP loop isn't that great on 27 megahertz either. It seems the loops are not above 25, or seem to be kind of in a dip in performance compared to my sloper, that said. So, it's kind of interesting, because it's tough to give a note on an antenna sometimes because of that. The antennas don't all have the same exact pattern of functioning, and you end up looking at a frequency range and saying, well, oh man, here it doesn't seem to be that good. And I will say it and say it again. The MLA30 is a great antenna, and it's a cheap antenna. And anybody that's in a noise environment, you have to try it. you'll be surprised what it can do. But if you remove all the noise around me here, my sloper gets better signals than the MLA30. It's just that it gets a lot of noise with it, which makes the listening experience bad. And the MLA30 gets those signals out of the noise so I can hear them. But if there was no noise, my 80 feet sloper would have a better, the signals would be stronger, honestly, than the MLA30. And that's where, everybody that tells me, hey, I got a, 120 feet wire outside and it's really good. Do you think an MLA30? No. If 120 feet wire at your location is so low noise that it works great, it's really oh, you saw that here, Norfolk. Yeah, I printed them out actually right here. So he's got a keen eye. He saw the schedule on the table. Yeah, I got the schedules. Thanks, Chuck, NS Norfolk, for the schedules of the U.S. Coast Guard. Kimberly, K6YYL, nice to have you here from California. I have some antenna discussions with my Elmer AA6DD on my YouTube channel if you or anyone are interested. So I want to check it out. Is your channel dedicated a lot to radio? Okay, Kimberly, I will be glad to do a little YouTube video and talk about it if you want. Creamers, trying to find a good tabletop radio with air and SSB, but can't find a good one for desktop. Well, desktop receivers. I'm sure it's yeah, it depends what you're looking for. What exactly do you want? Matt, are you sure? Well, actually, you know what, Matt, because when we talk about K-index, the K-index is dependent on the latitude. So to give you an example, the global K-index that we get is kind of an average of the general K-index. If I look right now, I'm just going to go to solarham.net and look at the auroral zone. It's pretty big, and there is a geomagnetic storm watch. Here it says 3-day geomagnetic forecast, K5 G1, February 21st K4 G0, and February 22nd go back to K3 average. But here's the thing. When you look at mid and high latitude, it changes. So mid latitude will say right now 15% chances, but high latitude 50% chances. Because the closer you are to the pole, if you take measurements of that K index by latitude, the closer you are to the geomagnetic pole, the higher the K index will be. There's a factor where it could be dependent on the latitude. So, for example, if I look at the auroral zone right now, where Mickey is, he is in the auroral zone. He would, if it would be dark now, probably seeing auroras above his location, but or very close, very close, because the auroras are not that far off from his location, which is north compared to here in Montreal. Now, here in Montreal, we're much farther south, so we're far from that auroral zone. So if the sky would be clear tonight, you would probably see auroras where I would not. And that, of course, puts the K-index dependent on the latitude, different on his location than it is on my location. That's why often you see the K index at I think there's a station in Finland that gives it gives the K index at its location, and it's on the Arctic Circle. That K index is much higher than here when things start to get a little more unsettled, for sure. What else do we have? K1161, I would invest in an auto tuner and SWR meter. Well, I don't need that. The FT450 has an auto tuner and has an SWR meter in it. So I don't see why I would have those extra if the radio itself does have those tools. So the FT450, the Yaesu FT450, you have SWR reading, and it's an auto tune. It actually has an auto tune for the antenna you're using. So, a question from a future ham newbie: if the receiver itself does it, do I need an external SWR meter and whatever? I don't think so. That's my take, but I don't think so. Man, CD-ROM. What's the frequency do you use? Who there? Who are you talking about? If you're talking about the space probes, they're in the gigahertz range. But it depends on the radio, of course. KW1161. If it would be a more old school transceiver, probably having an auto tuner, a shortwave, a standing wave meter, yeah, that would be good. But this radio has it all, so I don't see why it would be important to invest into. David Bennett, nice to have you here. My long wire collapsed due to snow. Oh, man. That is sad. That is so sad. Okay, what else do we have? Matt says there was a fascinating article about the Earth's magnetic poles flipping 42,000 years ago. They said cosmic radiation would have been so bad that they think there was that's when people went into the caves. There's a lot of talk about that because there's a lot of talk about that because the poles are shifting real fast. Right now, the magnetic North Pole is still in Canada, but it's going towards Russia at a very, very fast pace, much faster than in like 50 years ago. Which, of course, a lot of people, that with the fact that our magnetic field is weaker than it was, it's getting weaker. Has a lot of people thinking, are we having a reversal of the magnetic poles? Because the Earth's magnetic poles reverse every 50, 100,000 years. The last time the flip happened was like 40,000 years ago. So some are thinking, is it time for a flip again? I read a very good article in Sky and Telescope, which tends to say, nope, we're not at a magnetic flip. Where the magnetic field is moving around and everything, but no, we're not there yet. But I did read an article that was mentioning that when the flip happens, there will be a time when the magnetic field is so weak that we're not protected from the cosmic rays like we usually are. And they were wondering what that could do to life on Earth, actually. Kev Michael, WWVH, you mean? Because WWVB is on 60 kilohertz. Securus, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Tarek. Portable SDR, next step. Yeah, sure. Arctic Circle, nice to have you on board from northern Sweden. Only 13 Celsius now. We had 34 last week and 1 meter of snow. You mean 34 Fahrenheit? I would guess, because you're saying 13C, but it probably is 13. Or you forgot the minus. It's minus 13 now, and it was minus 34 last week. That would be more consistent. 34 Celsius and snow. I want to be there and see it, but minus 34, I wouldn't. Yeah, we got minus the coldest of the winter yet. We had minus 22 on, was it last Sunday or something like that? We had a really cold spell. Yeah, Carl Icon, the visual is like a radar. Absolutely. Absolutely. See you, Ron. If you don't like SDR, Mr. Carlson's YouTube channel. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. I like to watch his videos. Mr. Carlson's lab. There's so much stuff in there. And I love it when he opens these old radios and old things and he starts playing around in them and fixing them and everything. It's really, really cool. I like that. I like that. Paul Robinson, nice to have you here from the UK. What else do we have? Jack KB2TXR. Nice to have you on board. Keegan says he does rebroadcast the International Radio Report on CKUT. Best videos on YouTube. Okay. Steven from Romania. Nice to have you here. Pilot 8717 8D. Nice to have you on board from Gettysburg, Maryland. Yeah, I don't like CW decoders in my Arctic Circle because they tend to, with human sent CW, they're so crappy. So crappy. They have a hard time because of the, it's not consistent. It's like that, that Morse code station that I heard that never came back. It was human sent, and it was all, it was everywhere in speed. Software doesn't decode it well because of that, and that's the problem with computer decoded Morse code. David, nice to have you here from Barcelona, Spain. Joe Latorco, nice to have you here from Rochester, New York. Robert Cross, nice to have you on board. Where's Kitty, says Kevin Michael. He's sleeping in the bedroom. Hal Solar, Ali Solar, nice to have you here, Ali. TA3NSC, nice to have you on board. Matt says, don't forget, tomorrow is February 21st, which is the date of the annual Radio Omarang. Oh, yes. The Radio Omarang broadcast to North America via Issoudun, France. Completely forgot about that. Darn. We could have mentioned it in the International Radio Report. Oh, man. Don't forget myself here. Don't forgive myself here. We could have mentioned it in the International Radio Report too. So tomorrow, Radio Omarang from 16 to 17 UT on 15 to 15, guys. Very important. Thanks for reminding me of that, because I was like going without even remembering it was there. Mickey Delmage, if you have some interference from power lines, sometimes when it rains and washes away dust and dirt poles and reduces some types of interference. Yeah, there could be external factors, like the other way around. Like I had when I lived the other place before, where when it was raining, I had power line interference, and when it was very dry and sunny, everything was clean. David, KJ4CMY says we need to give Gilles a thumbs up. So why not, guys? Take the time to do it. Let's do it. Robert Cross is fixing a 1958 radio, medium wave, long wave radio. Cool. Stephen Wood, nice to have you here. What else do we have? What else do we have? Paul Robinson, many times over the years, I've listened to broadcast station with data and or Morse code coming over them. Is this normal on shortwave? You know what? There are so I understand what you're saying. Um, so depending on the radios you use, um, some radios have what we uh, what image problems. If we talk about, it's because some radios were not designed. So that's why we have double or triple conversion receivers. They removed that image problem. And when a radio has an image problem, there are exceptions to the rule because there could be a Morse code signal over a station because of for some reason. But overall, um, if your radio suffers from image problems, you might be listening to a shortwave station or broadcast, and the image of a Morse code signal from a utility, for example, could be by accident on that frequency you're listening to a station. It's something that happened a lot with older receivers. In the 80s, a lot of the receivers, that was a major problem. They had image issues, and we would hear Morse code over broadcasts and everywhere on the international broadcast bands. Now, that said, with some good receivers, it is not impossible. There are some utility stations that, for some reason, are smack in the middle of international broadcast bands. But a lot of the older receivers that have image issues, it happens. You're tuning around and you hear hams on that frequency, for example. You might be hearing actually Morse code from utility stations, amateur stations, and so on, that by chance are over, the image is over the frequency you're actually hearing in that older receiver. The Blind Picker, nice to have you here, Rob in Connecticut, W0RAB. Always cool to have you on board. By the way, I'm going to check my email quickly because I forgot to, and that is not a good thing. By email, we have Richard Limke says, hi from St. Albert. Nice to have you on board, my friend. And it's cool to have you here. Listening to Encore on WRMI 7570 kilohertz on Saturday at 23 UTC. Nice to have you here. Thanks for saying hi. We have Elizabeth in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada saying, hello, thank you for all you do, having fun tonight, listening, and learning even more about radio. So cool. Thanks to Elizabeth saying hello in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. We have somebody called John. He says, hello there. I'm not in the chat room. I would like to say hello. I am in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, watching a live show. This is not the first time that I watch, but it's the first time I am saying hello. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making my radio experience even more interesting. Thanks to the fact that I can follow what you're listening to. I can tune in some of those signals and learn at the same time. So thank you very much, John, Newfoundland, Canada. And we have Zach that is saying hello from Greece. He says, hello there. It's fun to watch your live shows. Sorry for my bad English. I love watching the live shows, tuning the signals. Always is exciting moment when you tune Voice of Greece at your location in Canada. I am always amazed that that radio station gets all the way across the ocean to North America. Thank you for the live show, and I will continue watching. I have been a viewer for the past year or so, and it is always a great moment of radio fun. Thank you, Zach. So, official shortwave radio, for those that are not in the chat room, official shortwave radio is where you can send your emails official shortwave radio at gmail.com. And here we have our friend XN80Xer that has sent a little picture of his little corner of the world with radio and stuff. You see a VHS there. I like the Radio Keegan in the screen there. So it's nice to see all the little details here that everybody's sending in. And hello, everybody. I'll be checking the email in the next 20, 30 minutes. I am 20 minutes behind in the chat room. I'm going to try to go a little faster, guys. But really, really a lot of fun to see all of this. So I just got the image, Keegan. Thanks for sending it, taking the time. What else do we have? So, Arctic Circle, K index 5.67 in northern Sweden. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, their film Frequency. I've never watched that movie. I need to watch it. I was thinking of what I could watch yesterday. You know what? I need to take note of that film. I need to watch it. Kimberly says it is the majority amateur radio related. There are some camping and memorial videos on my channel for 2 family members. But if the majority is amateur radio, you know what? You can send me the link, official shortwave radio at gmail.com. I'll talk about it in YouTube video, try to get you a little more members watching. You can even share it here if you want. I have absolutely no problem with that. Donald E. Smith, nice to have you on board from Bermuda. Jerry, K4 magnetic field is active. What else do we have? It's funny because you see the wrinkly of the paper on the scan, which is always kind of fun. It's like, oh, look at that. It's imitation wrinkly. But, I totally understand that. Mr. J Spring says U-loop works well, very good for an indoor antenna. I think it's just for SDRs, does not work well on portables. It seems to have been designed a lot to be used with, especially the AirSpy. So Arctic Circle, very foggy. So unfortunately, cannot see the Northern Lights. KW61 says transceivers like receivers have a habit of multipiling. I know. I totally understand that. Maybe that's going to be the next buildup of radios. Oh, God. Matt says it's going to be hard with the magnetic pulse flip. They said the last one happened relatively rapidly. Yep. Which is like 1,000 years, absolutely. But and think of the birds. A lot of birds, like ducks and geese, and all these birds that go down south in the winter come back. They it's kind of they're using the magnetic field. It's like they're kind of have a compass in their brain, basically. So it's kind of interesting. Could you imagine all brother stereo radio? Oh God, please no. Gerardo, nice to have you here from Portage, Michigan. Yeah, the best CW decoder is your ears. Absolutely, that one works well in general if you apply it. What else do we have? Yeah, demi load. Yeah, I know that demi load could be something to check out. Let me try to go down a little faster here. Chastank, nice to have you on board from cold, snowy, but sunny Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, cool. What M1MBZ. Sometimes a press selector can help filter out images of noise on old medium wave HF radios. Yeah. But there's a lot of that in older radios. It happens a lot. Michael Thompson, nice to have you here. Andy Coley, nice to have you here. A lot of people saying hello to Elizabeth, of course. Sirius Jean-Marie. Nice to have you on board. Bonjour et bienvenue du nord de la France. Michael Thompson is in New Jersey. People saying hello to John, Zach. Nice to have everybody here. James Johnson, if I have checked it out, so it's on the sloper. It's on the sloper, so it's probably not the best antenna, although by chance the standing wave is pretty good. I have had a couple of contacts, and in the city here, there's an SDR. There's a Kiwi SDR that's located about 7 or 8 kilometers away from me. I can hear myself on that Kiwi SDR if I talk. Not very loud. So my antenna is okay, but it's not. It could definitely be a lot better. That's why the Tram 1411 discount, because the Tram 1411 discount that I have to set up, it actually has that whip on top for the lower frequencies. It is designed to be used with CB radio. So when that is set up, I'm expecting to have an amazingly nice signal with that, for sure. Matt says, hello, Zach. Voice of Greece often makes it well into Denver, Colorado, USA in the summer. It's getting better lately already. So cool. EA3014 SWL. Nice to have you on board from Barcelona, Spain. So I liked the Radio Keegan picture. Let's try to get down as fast as we can. Say hello to everybody. Hey, Ricardo. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Levi Nathan. Nice to have you on board from Israel. Pretty cool. Hey, guys, I'm at the bottom of the chat room. Wow, what happened? It's like a time warp. Did I miss out on something? So, welcome, everybody, to the Shortwave Show. There's let me just check once again the email just to make sure I'm not missing out on anyone. So here we have Vincent that says hello. He is located in South Carolina, watching the show for the second time. Last time he watched the show was 2 months ago, and he had really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, the times are not the best because of his work, but he really enjoys watching. He owns a Kenwood R1000 receiver and has been using that for many years. He left the shortwave hobby for about 20 years before coming back. It is a big shock when you come back after 20 years, when you notice that a lot of the stations you loved are gone, but still enjoy the hobby. And when I watch your videos, it just gives me one reason more to turn on the radio and listen. You are really good at selling shortwave. I wonder if you are a salesman in life, because you probably are really good at that too. Thanks for everything, and love the stream. Hello to everybody in the chat room, even though I am not there. So, welcome aboard, my friend. No, I'm not a salesman. Maybe I should be. I don't know. I should be a shortwave radio salesman. You got to get the world in that thing. Yeah. With that Alex Jones voice. So everybody, turn on your shortwave radios. Let's listen to that world out there. The crazy world. Mike Hill, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. BXRPL, nice to have you here from Poland. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Trimbley, Mr. Bell. I wonder how Jill would look, how good Jill would look if you wore a non-black suit jacket over his everyday clothes. Okay. Douglas, nice to have you on board. Polar Switch, gonna be funny. Birds and airline pilots flying north for the winter. Yeah, they would shift. Going everywhere, they just don't know. Oh God. Gordon, nice to have you here from Rochester, New York. Can you repeat the info about the special station from France tomorrow, please? So it's Radio Omarong, which is a station for the Frisian community. That's a very, very small community just near Germany. And they have a yearly broadcast called Radio Omarong. It is in Frisian, but there's a couple of identifications that will be done in English. They broadcast via the Issoudun France transmitter site. And so Radio Omarong, just bring it out here. So they will be tomorrow from 16 to 17 hours Universal Time on 15215. So it's a special once a year broadcast that is happening tomorrow. It's always kind of, even though we don't understand half of the language, it's kind of fun to tune around and check it out. So, it's really cool. So 16 to 17 UT on 15215. So pretty cool. Keegan says, I heard Alex Jones on WWCR one night and Todd Gill's voice impression of him. Dan Vital, nice to have you here from Michigan. Did you try the active? I've never tried actually anything from MFJ. Never heard anything from never actually tried anything from MFJ. The MFJ 1020C. I hear good reports on it, so I guess it must be pretty decent. But I've never tried that 1020 MF that antenna. Or any MFJ product, pretty much. So I don't know. I'm not Chuck. Are there any pirate stations on the air that sell commercial time? Not that I know of. And for some reason, pirates and commercial ads kind of don't add up. I don't know. By the way, next week, with Winterfest, one of the things you guys should be on the lookout. There could be, coming out of we don't know where and done by we don't know who, a famous pirate that is usually at the Shortwave Fest. And often they have a broadcast over an FM frequency there in Pennsylvania at the event. But it might be a shortwave pirate this year. So the voice of Pancho Villa might be on. It usually is around 0 hours Universal Time. So maybe we should be on the lookout for Radio Pancho Villa Pirate, a yearly broadcast next week. I have a hunch that I might have information about it a little more coming in the week ahead. I don't know why, but if we do, we're gonna check it out. I am just throwing it out there. Maybe I could be streaming the live broadcast of Radio Pancho Villa somehow. I don't know how. I don't know where, when. Well, it's usually 0 UT. We'll be checking that out for sure. That could be interesting. UVB76, nice to have you on board. Cool, Gordon. I hope you enjoy the content. It's nice to be here. Matt says, going to monitor for rebroadcast of Radio Omarong and DRM on the 23rd. I have not seen that announced, but you never know. They did it last year, same time of the day and frequency. Cool. Carl Icon, Stormer Carlson used to make radios in Rochester, New York. Wow. When I see the old radios here and I see the label in the back says made in Canada. So that could be, that could be. Yeah, it's usually Eastern time. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, Eric. So anyways, could be something there. You can say that. Could be something interesting to listen and tune in next week for sure. Paul Robinson. I've always had my long wire flung over the roof. I live on the top floor flat. The council have cut my long wire down. So what can you suggest for a flat dweller? I have a balcony north facing. Regards. I would go with the MLA30 loop. It's around 40-ish US dollars. And for somebody that cannot put up an antenna anymore outside, that's your best bet. What's nice with the MLA30 also for a place like you have, they seem a little touchy on antennas. It's a very low profile antenna. You can set it up and not a lot of people will notice it. At the worst, you can put it maybe indoors near the window. A lot of people seem to have good performance out of that. That would be probably the only thing that is possible if a wire antenna is impossible now. Rich, nice to have you here from North Carolina. Warm weather coming. That means antenna building. And for me, that means I'm going to put up that Tram 1411 discount up eventually. Alan W. says, do you pay import duty on radio equipment that you buy in the U.S. or elsewhere? If I import radio equipment from outside the EU, it can make equipment rather expensive. We don't pay import duties on radio equipment. If the sender does say it's amateur radio gear, we don't pay import duties. What we will have as fees here is mostly paying the federal provincial taxes. To give you an idea of how it works, I've had radios sent to me free from some of you, a couple of, including that Yaesu here, transceiver, which was given to me by a viewer. When I got it, I had to pay the provincial and the federal sales tax for the amount that they actually deemed this radio is worth. So it cost me, I think it cost me something like $125. That's pretty much the only thing. The reason why we avoid certain companies from sending stuff, for example, UPS, which I hate even more than I hated before due to the antenna multicoupler. We avoid some of these companies because, for example, UPS is known to have brokerage fees that are way too high. So an example, you could buy something that costs $100 get it shipped from the US to Canada by UPS, not only will you have $100 worth of value, so that means you'll have to pay, $18, $16, $17 of taxes. You will also get the brokerage fee that sometimes can go as high as 40 or 50 bucks. So you get a device that you paid 100, but is ending costing 175, which is a nonsense. So that is really, really crazy, But we don't have import duties on most electronics, pretty much all the electronics. I believe the rule in Canada is that you don't have import duties on things that are not made in Canada. So, for example, nobody makes radios in Canada. You don't have to pay import duties, Pirate on 6925, upper sideband, apparently. 6925, upper sideband on the, yeah, look at that. $6925. Definitely a pirate, and that was on my Texan PL990X, by the way. Let's check it out on the there we go. This is on the RSPDX. Both sharing the same antenna. Look at that. Look at how good that is. RSPDX MLE30 through the multi-coupler. Same thing. Same antenna setup, but on the Texan PL990X. I mean, both are equal. I don't see one. I almost see the Texan better. It's as weird as that. That's so. Look at that. RSPDX, Texan PL990X. So, you look at that and you're like, wow, both are great. Maybe a little edge on the RSPDX, but not that much, honestly. Joe Sombra Newhouse, nice to have you here from Brazil. Catalan, nice to have you here from Germany. And yeah, from what I've seen on the, there's a British Columbia amateur station that actually is receiving some of the tones and frequencies. I've heard that they are around 8 gigahertz. Very, very high frequency. KJ Walda, nice to have you here. He is Frisian from the Netherlands, but still. So you'll be able to listen to that. It's a broadcast for you. K7AZR Arizona, nice to have you on board. What happened, Solar Cycle 25? You're the best radio guy on YouTube. Cheers. Thank you very much. Well, you got to think about the fact that we are just starting slowly the climb, and it's always the climb to a solar cycle is uneven. So there are times of quiet conditions and times of activity. We were kind of all hyped up because the last few months before the end of the year, the solar cycle really came to life a little more. But it is coming there. One of the things to watch, there's been a lot of talk about the faster a solar cycle actually climbs, the stronger usually it goes. It often goes together. We'll be looking at that. But, I think throughout the year, we're going to get more and more sunspots. And what we're going to do is next year, if next year there's no more sunspots, you'll be able to come back here and say, hey, what happens to solar cycle 25? You told me it would be better last year. But, it should be better at some point. Rufus says, got my mounting hardware for my tram today. Snow is knee deep. We'll be waiting for a while. Yeah. Here it's cold, snow, and everything is like, yeah, I'm not going to put it up now. It's I believe it is it is pronounced home wrong. Apparently. And that's per Glenn Hauser's World of Radio. Steve Miller, nice to have you here from Western Arizona. Juan amigo, ¿cómo está mi amigo? Thank you for the donation, by the way. Nice to have a little donation. Catalin, can anyone explain the skin effect on 20 meter? The Wellbrook loop is using a pipe, circle pipe, because it has the maximum area for the skin effect. What is the skin effect? Skin effect. Trembly, Mr. Bill, got nothing on 6925. UB76 says, I used to listen to UK AM Pirates in the 80s. Yes, I know Joe Sambra in the US. I got a copyright strike 2 weeks ago on a interval signal. And the worst part is I played so many interval signals in that time that I have to go back and watch what interval signal did give me a copyright strike. That is crazy. Come on. Steve Miller, good day. Jeff K says, I'm guessing we cannot get NASA signals from Mars, most likely directional antenna. All we would hear was buzzing noise. So there's this ham radio operator in British Columbia that built his own dish. And he got the NASA signal from the orbiter, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, MRO. He also even got the signal from the Chinese spacecraft that got into orbit around Mars, too. Pretty crazy stuff. Gunner 66, nice to have you on board from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. What else do we have? Look, I'll give my own opinion on that, and everybody do whatever you want. It's up to you. Honestly, what I've seen, so I've got a W6LVP loop here. Okay, that thing is known to be pretty much equal to a Walbrook. It is as expensive. My W6LVP loop cost me, several $100. What I see, except on the edges, I told earlier that the edges were a little more sensitive on the W6LVP, is that I would not recommend anybody buy those expensive loops when the MLA30 does such a good job. That's my take on it. You can do what you want with that take on it. I know some don't agree with it, but I cannot and will not tell anyone to buy a Wellbrook or a W6LVP now that the MLA30 is there. That's all I got to say. For the rest, it's okay. And I've seen I'm not just taking my opinion here. I'm taking the opinion by watching a few videos of guys that know what they're doing and that have a Wellbrook and an MLA30, and they're like, okay, that thing is kind of pretty amazing. Maybe it could be worth it, like I said, because of the edges that are not as performant. Maybe a Wellbrook, for example, if you're a medium wave DXer, maybe a Wellbrook does a better job. That's possible. W6LVP, I don't know, because I got filters that filter out the medium wave signals. So I can't test it on medium wave, unfortunately. So Terry Cook, skin effect is the RF. Is that RF only travels on the antenna outer surface? Paul says the skin effect occurs at higher frequencies. Current is pushed to the outer edge of the conductor. It doesn't occur, for instance, in household current, which is 60 hertz. Huh. And what does it, because, okay, I'm trying to understand what it has as a purpose. Kind of interesting. Gerardo, well, if you guys want to do a donation, anyone that wants to, through PayPal. I gave my PayPal here. Anybody that wants to help out. The funds, by the way, of the donations that go there on the PayPal account are all going to purchasing radios. So I keep it in there. And when there's a new radio, when there's something that you guys want me to test, I use the funds that are in here and purchase radios. So that's the PayPal where you need to send the money. And so I take that money, and whatever radio I purchase, well, I take the money that's in there if there's any money. Lately, most of the radios I purchased pretty much on my own. The only one that I got a decent amount of donations to purchase is the Texan PL990X. But I tend to not ask too much right now because I'm okay. But called that the radio fund. Wanted me to purchase a radio. Well, that's where I pick up part of the money and I pay whatever is missing to purchase. So most radios that I had donations, I don't they're not covered totally by the donations. I take the donations and I pay whatever is left from my own pocket. So thanks for those that donate, by the way. I'm not. Chuck says, so a hollow conductor is as good an antenna as a solid conductor. Well, technically, yeah. If you have a hollow, like a tube works as well as a solid, metal pipe, if you want. There would be no difference from what I understand. Snow Puppy, nice to have you on board from Nebraska. I don't know why every time I see Nebraska, I always think of Bruce Springsteen with his album that was called Nebraska. Always. Snow Puppy just got a Texan R9700DX delivered a few minutes ago. Opening the box right now as I'm listening. Cool. That's I see a lot of reports of really good, good performance out of that little analog portable. Kathleen, imagine an MLA30 with a big fat pipe in order to have the maximum outside area. Okay. Yeah, okay, I get the yeah. Huh. Okay. That is an interesting one. Can an insulator conduct electricity? Well, it's an insulator, so it's not technically supposed to conduct electricity. Unless you go higher than the rating of the conductor, the insulator itself. For example, if you have a cable that's meant to be at a certain voltage, a certain amount of amps, the size of the cable is, of course, one of the things to take into effect here because of the amount of electricity going through. But the insulating is also important because you might have a big enough cable to handle a certain current and voltage, but the insulation, if it's too thin, might not be enough to protect outside of it. So there could be an arc going through it. But technically, an insulator is supposed to insulate. Heat mover. Haven't listened to Shortwave since the early 90s. Is Shortwave very active today? Yeah, there's still a lot of stuff. It will be different from the early 90s, but there's still a lot of stuff. Matt says, my homemade loop antennas use copper waterline for loops, both hollow. Yeah, that's probably what we will all use. I would go and get copper tubing from plumbing or something and use that, honestly. Snow Puppy loves analog radios. Well, they do have a certain sexy appeal to it. Absolutely. So Carl Icon, yeah, the rover itself is broadcasting its signal to the Mars, the MRO, the Mars Recognition Orbiter. That is the device that actually sends back the signal to us here. Absolutely. Cool, William. Nice to have you back home. K7AZR Arizona says a rare Kenwood RZ1 on eBay now. Wow, really? I've never seen that. Need to check it out. What else do we have? Yeah, thanks for sharing the Tom DXer ham that heard the Mars and the U.S. and Chinese satellites. So it's the just use the email because the link never works well. So in the PayPal. So once you're in PayPal, just use that email. You'll see my name, which is a complex name in English, Gilles Letourneau, but you should see my name. And if you send at that email, you'll be sending to me directly. What else do we have? David, for example, my bazooka dipole for 40 meters is made of RG9 coax. Due to the skin effect, RF radiates out of the hollow braid. No need for it to be solid conductor. Yeah, okay. I get it. I get the reason. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know it was called a skin effect. Huh, interesting. You see, even I learned stuff. So come on. We all can learn. We all learn stuff. Mobile armored strike, you're correct. A prime example of a good insulator, but it does conduct electricity at his hair, lightning. Yeah. It's because, at a certain level of electricity, it just can't do its job. It can't isolate anymore. And well, that is from my that is helped a lot in a job that I had, because I had a job after I had my electronics course. I had a job where they would do lighting systems, and some of them were for the city, and the city's lighting systems worked on 347 volts, and they would tend to use, they would, start building up, and I would look at them and say, that ain't a good cable for what you're doing here, because these things use a lot of power. There's like sodium lamps, and this thing is not going to hold up. You can't use those types of conductors. You need better conductors with better insulating if you want this to not blow up at some point, And they learned from me. Actually, it was fun because I learned from them a lot of stuff, and they learned from me because of my electronics course and fiddling with electronics in general. But it was kind of an interesting moment there. And man, I changed a lot of the stuff at that company because I would tell them, no, you can't do that. I remember they had lamps that they wanted to sell for consumers, and it was a metal coax cable. There's no shield. It's like taking a RG58 and you don't put any insulation around it. You only have a braid of copper colored wire, for example. The reason they wanted like that is because it was beautiful. You can match the copper wire with your home, for example, for some reason. And I remember one day they come to me and they say, okay, Joel, so they would use that with 12 volts lighting systems, which was okay because 12 volts, you're not gonna die from 12 volts, and one day they come up to me and they say, okay, so this lady wants them in 120 volts, incandescent. And I'm like, are you crazy? You want to kill people? You can't have that in 120 volt. You're going to kill people. They're going to touch that thing, touch your fridge, and you're zapped. It's like, you can't. It's impossible. That is impossible to do. You're going to kill someone if you do that. And we're all like, oh, really? It's like, come on. You have a metal outer cable that's going to have 120 volts from the wall socket. Are you nuts? Are you nuts? Oh, man. What else do we have? Check email. Check email, says Mickey. Radio home wrong, station ID. Oh, yes. Let's play it here so that you guys can hear the radio home wrong idea. This is okay. Thanks for sharing, Mickey. Radio Omrang.
This is Radio Omrang, the Frisian voice of Omrang. We are broadcasting on high 19 FM via Unich with frequency 15215 KHZ. Sunday time is 11 o'clock New York time, 16 hours UTZ.
So that's Radio Omrang reception or ID here in English, which would be what you'll hear tomorrow probably. Robert Page, our friend here, Page Master, is sending some pictures also. Robert Page. So here are a few photos of the Boulder Hill listening station. And here's one that we can share. Let me just be sure. Here's one. And the other one here. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Ain't it? That's pretty cool. Really nice to see this. Really, really nice. And by the way, thanks guys for the donations that I see here coming in. Really, really appreciate it. And like I said, it's going to the radio fund. So every time there's a radio to purchase, this is going to be where I'm going to take the money and buy new radios. I am looking at one of those portable SDRs. We're going to see what I can check out with that. And thanks again, guys, for the donations. Joe Sambranios, I don't know if it's because my location, but I noticed many frequencies with same Radio China international station, especially at 31 meter band. There are times because they use a lot of different of course of different frequencies, and especially with the CNR Chinese National One jammers that they use all the time. They are on a lot of frequencies at the same time, and when you have the pattern of the different seasons of the years, you notice that there are peaks. And this February, March is usually one of the peaks when you see a lot of 41, 31 meter band Chinese stations direct, for sure. Heat Mover says, tanks started with when I was a kid in the early 70s with a national NC98 with a long wire. Cool. Catalan, New Loop has an inverter on the top that's supposed to help with filtering. a symmetric electric antenna. Okay, interesting. Mitchell J. Spring, is there an SDR that can scan function like the Texan PL 660 880? Well, there's some scan functionalities, but if you're talking about like ETM scans and stuff like that, that's a different thing actually, because those are very different in the way they work. Rufus says Jill will review his new eBay purchase and I will be forced to spend more money. It's my fault. My fault. My fault. Oh man. I'm not checked. The larger the diameter of an RF antenna, the broader its resonant frequency. James Johnson says my family has our names on that rover. They had a program for names to be sent. Oh, that was the one. I remember seeing a program where you could have your name sent to Mars. So that was the one. Okay. Oh, that's cool. It's cool when you think about it. What type of real job do I have? I'm a YouTuber. It is my real job. The monetization from YouTube is what keeps me, gives my paycheck. I had several jobs. I was a tech guy for 15 years, which I slowly gave away because it's dreadfully, tough to repair people's computers. At one point, you get tired of doing that job. So as YouTube became more and more interesting, and I was able to actually earn a living off of it, that's pretty much where we are now. YouTube is my job, which I gotta say I'm very lucky to be doing this. This is not the main driver, by the way. Here it's a decent. I mean, the monetization here has come much better. It's doubled over a year. But the main driver of my paycheck is the tech channel, the Windows and computer channel, which is the majority of the money that comes in. It has much more views and much more popularity than this one. But, all my channels together that are monetized, I got 5 channels I take care of together. I have a very decent paycheck at the end of the month. Or the 21st of the month, which is always the date. So tomorrow, the 21st, is paycheck time for YouTube. Kathleen, what is the verdict between AirSpy and RSP1A? So here's the thing, okay? Yeah. That's the delicate thing. So I get a lot of so a lot of you have the AirSpy, love it. A lot of people have the RSP DX, the RSP devices. A lot of people swear on the AirSpy being much better than the RSP DX devices, the RSP devices, sorry, or the SDR Play devices. One thing for sure, I cannot test with weak signals and every frequency range, and this is not a laboratory. It's a standard, just listening to the bands and see what performs better or not. Now, this week I've had a little more bigger idea of how they are, because now with the multi-coupler, I can listen to a signal on RSPDX and on the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery at the same time using the same software. So I was using SDR Console V3 for both. When I do that, I see no difference. Absolutely none in performance. Meaning, what I see as a guy that has a lot of noise, and that's how we're going to put it, as I see it, with a guy that has a lot of noise with its signal, is that they're both great. They're both good. And I can't really complain of any of them. That said, there's the obvious that you got to take into account, meaning, for example, AirSpy can use SDR Sharp, and you guys know that SDR Sharp has a lot of plugin capabilities. But I'll have a negative side to this. I also know that AirSpy is preventing SDR Play from using SDR Sharp because it's competition. That I don't like, and it kind of gives me a sense of I'm never going to buy any other AirSpy devices ever. I bought one, that's enough. Because I don't like that kind of way of doing things. If you like a product and you think it's really good, let everybody access the same software to test it out. Because I'm sorry, that is not unacceptable. But apart from that, there could be differences. If you are in a long wave, medium wave, very low noise environment, it's possible that one performs better than the other on some ranges, and that I just can't really test it from here. From my environment with noise, it's as good, and that's all I can say. And that's the thing is, here it's not a laboratory; it's a real test of using it in everyday life. Where I see a lot of people talk about it and say it's better, people that are in very that have laboratories or have ways of testing it in a different light that I just don't have here. And they say that the dynamic range and all of that of the AirSpy is better. And that I can say it is possible. I'm not, I've never mentioned, every time I talk about it, I've never mentioned that it's no good. It's at least as equal. And we're going to put it at that as performance. The negative side for me is that I got 50 inch of screen here. On 50 inch of screen, one of the things that you got to know is that having several megahertz spread is a lot of fun. The AirSpy is limited to 912 kilohertz. So for me, that makes it a very small very small waterfall to look at. It's okay, but I like better because I have big screens here. On a computer, on a laptop, a 50-inch screen, 15, 16-inch, 13-inch screen, it's enough. Because on small screens, you don't see anything if you just have too much bandwidth on the screen. But when you get to 50-inch of a TV, or even 70-inch like my living room, you want to have several megahertz on that screen because now you can see the stuff spread out. So I would not choose an AirSpy because of that reason. And I would stick with an SDR Play device. The other thing is I do a lot of UHF listening, including AM satellites in the 400 megahertz range. And what happens is that the AirSpy is limited from 62 to 60 megahertz, small VHF range coverage. So that will also be a no-go for me because of the range. Now, I understand that one of the reasons they might have limited the range is to make it better, and I understand why that could be. And so if it is better, and I got to admit it could be better, is much more in the details of the product and what it does if you have the capabilities than general use. Because when I see somebody and that I will repeat, anyone that goes on any group and says, "Oh wow, I'm getting so many more signals on the AirSpy than on the SDR Play devices," it's like, nope, you haven't set it up right, because they are receiving the exact same signals with the exact same, pretty much, strength. So when somebody says, "I hear more signals on my AirSpy," you got it set up right. Nope, it ain't right. I'm sorry, but what I see here is it's impossible that you get more signals on one than the other. What I see, it's possible that you get the same signals. And a lot of those posts that I've seen is like, yeah, you got two different software with two different settings. You can compare two different software, AirSpy and SDR Play devices need to be on the same software, have the most accurate, same settings in them. When somebody tells me I'm getting stuff on the AirSpy that I don't get on the SDR Play, it's like, no, check your stuff. It's wrong. And that I will hold on to unless somebody will show me that they do, because I cannot accept that verdict from my personal observations of here, what I see. Like I say, I'm not talking negative about any of them. They're great. They're both good. We'll leave it as that. We'll leave it at the level that I can test it. Maybe in the little details and the weak signals in certain areas of very, long wave or whatever, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's possible. They can't be exactly the same everywhere, that's for sure. And maybe there is a range, or maybe somebody's going to tell me, oh, in long wave it kills the SDR Play. It's possible. It is possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It is possible. But my personal observations are simply of using it, and they both are good. That's what I'm going to keep. What else do we have? What else do we have? Catalin says, if you ever get enough money, I would like to see you. Oops, I lost the. So if you have enough money, I would like to see the original Malachite and perhaps Pluto SDR. I'm not saying no. If I would have the money to do so, I would. They are interesting devices. I would surely love to test that out. That is certain that I would be interested in purchasing one of those for sure. Graham, 2E0FUF. Generally speaking, a solid antenna conductor will give you a wider bandwidth than a tube connector. Okay, kind of interesting. Okay, the Kenwood RZ1 is a scanner with full shortwave coverage. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. You have the link? Out of curiosity. New SDR from China known as the I've seen that, the RX888, which actually is used in some online receivers. I've seen a few online receivers using it. Raphael says, I save money by watching and listening to the reviews here and on the show's channel. Robert Osborne, what is the intent of the CNR jammers? Is it just what the name implies, to interfere with other stations? Yeah, so what happens is that China, Robert, has two ways of jamming. Pretty much it's the way that they do it. So, of course, there are some broadcasters that China does not want to have the stations get into the mainland of China. And they use either what they call the fire drink. You might have heard like percussions and really fast-paced style Chinese music that just goes over in a loop all the time. That's called a fire drake. So that was the most popular jamming they used at a certain point. We would hear fire drake everywhere. And of course, that is intended. They broadcast that on the same frequencies of stations they don't want that they could go to China. And what happens is that maybe because it was too obvious that was jamming, they slowly are moving more into CNR. So CNR has real frequencies, the CNR, which is Chinese National Radio 1, they have real frequencies for the mainland China. But they also use that and put that channel, that CNR jammer, that CNR Chinese National Radio 1 station on a lot of frequencies at the same time that they are broadcasting from other countries. They don't want the signals get into China. So the intent here is to try to not show their jamming, but because they are on so many frequencies of other broadcasters they don't like, it's obvious they are using it to jam. And so they are everywhere. So especially, I see this all the time. People say, hey, I've got, Sound of Hope Taiwan last night. It was so cool. No, you're not listening to Sound of Hope. Forget it. No one hears Sound of Hope in North America or even Europe. You're hearing China National Radio 1 jammer because they jam all the frequencies of Sound of Hope Taiwan. And by the way, Sound of Hope Taiwan is like very, very weak. It's like a 100-watt station. It's extremely low power. So what you're hearing is the Chinese jammer. You're not hearing Sound of Hope at all. So the idea behind it is to block any transmissions that they don't want that can be received into China by the general population with shortwave receivers, and they have a lot of them. They're spending a lot of money, hundreds of millions a year, because they have tons of transmitters on all the time, jamming stations like Radio Free Asia, of course, Sound of Hope Taiwan, and many other broadcasters. All right, JD Dakota, nice to have you here. Rich, how does the Texan 8800 compare to the 660 performance? I don't know really, because I've never had really the two radios to compare in general. So, it was general failure, and why is it reading my hard disk? Oh man, the best is when I had one. So the little straight couple that everything's perfect and their life is perfect and nothing can be wrong because they are perfect. Fix the computer because there's like naked ladies all over the screen. And so I removed the malware and all this stuff, and it's fine. It's fine. But there's one thing in tech that you will actually, that all the technicians will tell you. Yes, there is a warranty for certain things. But if I remove a virus and that in 3 weeks you call me and say, hey, I got the same virus, you got to fix my computer for free, I will reply with, nope, you went and did the things I told you not to do, and you got the virus again. That's not covered. Of course, if it's there 5 minutes after I leave, maybe my cleanup wasn't good. That's possible. But 3 weeks later, it's like, yeah, it was dormant for 3 weeks before it came back. No. You got the same virus. So I go to this couple, and there's naked ladies everywhere, and, nice little couple in their condo that life is perfect. And the lady is looking at me and says, well, we don't go to these types of websites, so I don't understand why there's naked ladies all over the screen and blah, blah, blah. You're the tech guy. You gotta be relaxed. You gotta talk in a way that, I'm not there to say, well, your husband's watching porn when you sleep. I'm there to, well, sometimes we click on something and blah, 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 and my head is like, your husband's watching porn when you sleep, but okay. And so I do it in a very, very low profile way that, things can happen, blah, blah, blah. She calls me up about almost a month later. She says, hi, you came here a month ago, where for the past 2 days we got naked ladies again on the screen. So I tell her, okay. And the second question is, so, this is going to be free. because he came here for the same problem. And I tell her, no, it's not free. Because if there's naked ladies on your screen, it's because somebody did something. Because I know that my cleanup was good. She starts cursing and telling me I'm, and one of those I steal money and blah blah blah, and I'm a bad tech guy, and So of course, the first thing in my head is like, yeah, you're gonna, shove your, you're gonna shove your naked ladies up your ass. So when she stops talking, I said, okay, I'll be very, very fair here. Your husband, wake up. Your husband is watching porn on your computer. If you're too idiot to understand that, maybe you should have a talk. Bye. And I just hang up. It's like, there we go. They're going to have a good discussion now. I mean, come on. Stop being dumb, please. But a tech guy is most of the time a psychologist. I have never thought that people would open up and tell me stories of their personal lives like I have heard while fixing computers. It is crazy. John Procato, nice to have you on board from Pittsburgh. Nice to have you here. Mailman just dropped off an old school Heathkit SW7800. Oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. Simon Templar, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. WHT Mike G30. Van Life. Got a Grundig S350DL for $20. Is that a good starter radio? Yeah, it's not that bad. For $20, you're gonna have something that is interesting. And there's one here actually in the back, right there, in the corner. And it drifts a little and all, but overall, it will receive shortwave signals. It's sensitive. It's sensitive, for sure. What else do we have? Picking up Skip from Maine on 27025. Let's check it out. 27. So first, let's check for any pirates. I think the pirates are gone. 27025. Anything here on the radio? Yeah, a little bit. Very weak, but it's there. A slight skip, but it's very, very weak. I really don't hear it much here on the Texan PL990X right now. Simplio, nice to have you here from Oklahoma. Nice to have you on board. What is there? What is there here? Matt says, so far I'm not overly impressed with SDR Sharp software. It's unwieldy and the lack of notch filtering is just bizarre. Seems like a huge oversight. Yeah. MStacks 100% agree with AirSpy. Erica Chell, I would go to the original Russian Malachite DSP rather than Chinese. No, if I want to buy, honestly, I've already settled that if I do purchase one of those, it will be the original Russian one. I do not want the, if I have to spend money for one, I'm going to buy the original one, not the Chinese clone. That said, if I had enough money, I'd buy both of them so I can show the difference between them. I think that would be a very nice thing. A very nice thing to actually compare them and tell everybody, look, here's the difference between both of them. That would be a worthy thing to do on the channel. But if I have to buy one, I'd buy the original Russian one. That's for sure. That's for sure. I need to check out. Anybody has a link for the original Russian receiver where it can be purchased like now, just out of curiosity? Just out of curiosity, because I hear some people that have the Chinese one are happy with it also. So it's difficult to assess, but I'd probably like to have the original one for sure. M-Stack says the SDR play. He's happy with it. David, I think you said from MSI cut native SDR sharp support to the other devices after some third party forked it without permission. Find your videos posted so far to be interesting, and that I can't hear much difference between Discovery HF and RSPDX. I don't either. That's the thing. And the fact that I am able now, for example, with the multi-coupler, to use both with SDR console, the RSPDX, and the AirSpy on the same antenna that has the same exact performance because of the multi-coupler. That's where it's difficult. What's really difficult is you see people testing, but I purchased an expensive multi-coupler for a very simple reason, so that you cannot come back at me and say, well, something's wrong at the antenna, or no. They're all, the outputs of the multi-coupler are all the same exact signal. If I've got 4 radios aligned with the 4 connectors, they all have the same antenna with the same output. Now we are at the level of what the radio performs, how it performs with it. That's where we are at. And the other thing is, I wanted the multi-coupler because I have both at the same time. I don't switch from one to the other because I have to switch the antenna. I have both at the same time, listening to the same signal on the same antenna. It can't be more precise than that. Then after, it's the software and the settings in it that can do a difference. I see no difference. All I can say, I see no difference. That's all. David, you can ask yourself directly over on Twitter. He'll give you a much better answer than I possibly could, since he's, yeah. Let's just say that I've heard that it's more than that. I've heard that he doesn't like to have competition. That's more what I've heard, and which would not surprise me. Matt says, I can see the appeal for hardcore analysis, but that's not why I'm into SDR. Same here. It's like, if you're in the laboratory with like really expensive equipment and really, it's like saying, yeah, you know what, that radio is better, but you have to listen when it's minus 27.4 degrees Celsius with an antenna pointing northeast, and it has to be sunny, and the wind has to blow from 40 kilometers per hour from the northwest. You'll get the best reception ever. It's better than anything else. Yeah. Look, that's not what people listening to the radio are doing. My analysis of what it is based on what everyday people watching my channel will be doing. What does everyday people on the channel do? They want to listen to a radio. And you are going to just, listen to shortwave signals and so on. You want to have something that performs. I will say it very clearly, and I'm not sold to SDR play. A lot of people have been sending me emails like, you're sold to SDR play. I'm not. If I find tomorrow morning an SDR that's cost $60 that outperforms all of them, that's going to be my new choice, my new favorite, I want to be very clear here. I am extremely fair in what I have to say with my observations of what I do every day. That is what the channel is about. That is what I want, because you guys are going to buy something based on what I have to say. So I will be very fair. Still, you want an SDR that performs really well. The best entry level SDR that exists, and I still say it, is the RSP1A from SDR Play. You already got a great SDR. It's a wideband receiver for $119. No, there's nothing that beats that at that price. Then you got the SDR Play, RSPDX. Honestly, with my observations, if I had to purchase the AirSpy is $169, the RSPDX is $199. It's $30 difference. But what do you get for $30 more? A wider frequency range and 3 antenna inputs. Let's face it. If you have multiple antennas, 3 antenna inputs on the SDR is a really useful thing. So, performance equal, 3 antenna inputs, wider frequency range, I would go to the RSPDX and jump over the AirSpy. For the rest, you know, yeah, well, you know, you got 3 microvolts of, you know, I don't care. Average listener tuning around the bands. That's where we are at. This is where I am at. And I'll say it again. I'm not impressed with the AirSpy. I don't see a difference. I've plugged back my RSPDX here. I want to have the wide frequency coverage. I want to have the wider bandwidth for more frequencies and more waterfall. And it's not, I think I've stated very clearly why I like it more. Overall performance look the same. So I'm not poo-pooing the AirSpy. I am saying the performance seems the same. I am talking about the limits that I don't like personally that might not affect others. Once again, you're on a 10-inch tablet. Yeah, 912 kilohertz of waterfall is going to be probably enough because it's a small screen and you can't really see anything when it gets too big, too wide. You're not interested at all in what's above 30 megahertz. Well, it covers shortwave, long wave, medium wave. You're okay. That's really the thing here. And I think that's where we've got to just sit down. I'm getting a lot of comments of comments that are like into the almost borderline category of well, I think you don't know what you're doing because it's so much superior. It's like, no, I'm not there. I'm not doing micro testing equipment that is super precise, and I'm not sending a probe to NASA. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, I'm not sending a probe to Mars. Then maybe I need that very specialized equipment that has that little something or little edge into it. Yeah, okay. I'm listening to shortwave in an environment where it's so noisy that you want to rip your ears out from time to time because of all the noise around it. In that environment, in that very, very specific listening experience I've got, there's no difference. All I got to say, my personal opinion, take it or leave it. What it also says, you have an AirSpy, it's a good device because they're the same. It's a good device. I'm impressed with the RSPDX. Well, same performance for the AirSpy. So it's a good radio. And that's where I'm at. Okay. What else do we have? Sikaris says receivers today are pretty neck and neck unless you got Elecraft money. Yeah, I can understand that people with the very expensive ones could see maybe more of a difference. But then again, for the expensive one to see a difference, then again, you have to be, it's more into a the environment that you are in using these devices. So, you know. Okay, let's try to go down a little faster here. A little faster, because I am... Take care, Douglas. Okay. Simply says, basically, Yusuf made it difficult to compare a spy with anything else. This is ego showing. Yeah. But like I said, it's not a bad device. For me, it's equal. Dennis, nice to have you here. Garden Lyle, nice to have you here from Southern Illinois. Simply as the antenna determines how well you receive signals 95% of the time. Radio is only 5% of the recipe. M Stacks says, I saw a video shootout between various shortwave radios pulling weak stations. One of the radios was 15,000 ICOM receiver. The ICOM way outperformed, but with super high-hand circuitry involved. Yeah, you know, it's you gotta also look at how much money you're spending for the performance you're getting. You know, I was surprised and impressed, and some of you were impressed when I showed the performance difference between my ICOM SCR 8500 and the Texan PL 990X. A lot of you were like, "Wow, okay, that's impressive." You know, it shows you how close they are today. So, you know. Catalan says, in the last month, I wasn't able to use the SDR Sharp community package. It starts when a voice is telling me screen. I do have the new .NET still does not work. Oh, that's interesting, because I got it. I got that one with the community package with the voice overlay and all of that. It works fine here. That's weird. Mobile Armored Strike Command says MRO is broadcasting a downlink of 8.44 gigahertz. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, you know, that's the thing, Simplio. It's like it works great. So you're going to have a great device. That's for sure. You know? Like I say, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just pretty much the same. That's all. But you haven't. Wait a minute, Simplio. Did you look at the videos with SDR console? Both have the same audio. The audio comes from the software's way of processing it. And on the last few videos that I posted, and I'll post more, zero difference in the audio. You'll see there's zero difference on the audio. There was on the first ones because they weren't on the same software, and there was a difference. We could hear a difference in the audio, and that's why I wanted to use the same software. And the last couple of videos that I posted with the same software, even the audio doesn't have a difference. They're pretty much the same. Maybe you haven't seen the last ones that I posted. WDOG Pirate on 6925 and KDOG on 6930. That's interesting. Let's check it out. Let's try 6925 upper sideband. See what we can hear here. Not hearing anything on both frequencies. R9500, yeah, $18,000. Ay. Simply, who pays $18K? Rich people. Hey, if I'd be a millionaire, I'd have one. I tell you, I'd have one. If I'd be a millionaire, you know, if I get $18,000 in donations tonight, I'm getting one. Oh man, no, but I would have one. I would have one if I'd be rich. I would have one. It's such a amazing looking radio. I would want one. That's for sure. You know. Some nights the 41 meter band sounds like a jam contest. Yeah, especially at this time of the year. There's a lot of those CNR and Chinese signals coming in. Gerardo would like to see our other channels. Would be okay for you to post. I don't like doing cross postings of the channels. I rather keep each channel very unique to each other. If you don't mind, I'm sorry, but I don't like cross posting. What do you think of the Rethicus TR105? I don't know because what's the? Let me just check it out here. TR105. Google. Oops. Rethicus R105. Oh, you know what? That looks like the HRD 737. And that is the HRD 737 that I have here. So I can actually talk about it. It's a rather crappy radio, honestly. But that said, we talked about, there was some talk today about in the messenger, the CIDX group about antennas and overloading with FM signals here. I've seen a couple of videos of people that have that radio. So that is also known as the Hangrongda TR, the Hangrongda 737, HRD 737. I have that radio here. It does not perform well here because it's overloaded a lot. And it's because of the strong FM signals I get here. So what I would say is that some of the videos I've seen of people living in more rural areas where there's less noise and less, there's no strong stations around them, it actually seems to perform much better. So my crappy performance out of it is probably due to the environment I live in. It can't handle the strong FM stations around me. But because of that, and even though I've seen some videos, I cannot recommend really that radio, honestly, because it doesn't work well, So what else do we have? Jerome's too nice to have you on board. Pirates on 6930. Tom the Extra, take care, my friend. Hope to see you next show. Once again, I want to tell everybody, if you are listening on the Saturday show next week, because of the Shortwave Listening virtual event, Shortwave Fest, Winter Shortwave Festival, I will be on Sunday at 20 UTC, not on Saturday like usual. Okay. Marvin Motz, nice to have you here from the Japan Islands. K7AZR, tech is like being an air stylist. You hear everything. Oh, man. Things that people told me that you like, wow, you're telling that to somebody you don't even know is crazy. I remember one client, she was going back to Mexico and she was anxious to do scuba diving. And when I was fixing, it was a very long, we were completely rebuilding everything and it was a very long process. So I spent like 6 hours there. she started telling me, well, it's the first time I go back scuba diving. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, like in 10 years. And I'm like, oh, really? And she says, yeah, I've never gone back because, and she started telling me that her ex-boyfriend, they went scuba diving, and she wanted him to go a little further, but he wasn't really, it was his first time, and they had a current go through, and she barely came out alive out there with help of other people, but her ex-boyfriend died. And you hear that, they're telling you that, and like, wow, you shared that moment with me is crazy. You had to tell someone. You had to. It's like, and you end up thinking, wow, it's crazy how. And some of them, it's some of those people that I went to fix their computers was we were getting more like almost friends rather than the tech guy and the client. It's crazy. Rufus says, did repairs for years, Jill. You can only be diplomatic for so long. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Aerial imaging, nice to have you here. Lou Braga, nice to have you here. K3TPP, nice to have you on board from New York. Pretty cool. Rudolph White, nice to have you here from Easton, Pennsylvania. What else do we have? Aerial imaging says it seems difficult to buy the Russian one. It's literally some guy, and you basically need to mail him an envelope of rubles. I tried to find a place to get the Russian one, and I couldn't find anywhere to get one. I couldn't get any links of a website or something. I'm not buying it on eBay because on eBay it's obviously all the Chinese knockoffs that are there. So because I was kind of interested in maybe checking one out. Música Gutera, nice to have you here. ¿Cómo está mi amigo desde Colombia? Nice to have you on board from Canada. But the eBay is only the Chinese knockoffs that you can see there, and it shows because the price is very, very different. Mstack says, Jill, to clarify, 100% agree with you the AirSpy policy on the software. Yeah, if your device is so good, you should stop preventing others from using the software. David says, then there's a Belka DX, also Russian made, no graphic display, but it's also SDR based, performs better, and it's much smaller. Yeah, that could be one to check out for sure. I'm also going into a direction when I look at radios. What should I buy? What should I buy that a lot of you? What should I buy so that a lot of you are interested in knowing its performance? Because maybe you're thinking of purchasing one. I got to think about that also. The radios that I purchase are often based on, well, there's a possibility that someone will want to buy this. So that's also something to look at and to look at, Ricardo says, in early days, I was constantly on other people's houses to tune up TV, radio, extended cables, and it have some unintended dives into the other people's lives. Yeah, it happens. You're in, going to other people's homes, and you're in their bubble. You're in the life of somebody else, Aerial imaging, you're making the AirSpy people mad. Well, if that's the way they find it, that's their problem. It's not mine. I'm just stating exactly what I see and what I hear. Catalan says, make sure you use the same cable lengths for the radios connected to the multi-coupler. Don't worry. They're all exactly the same. Everything is exactly the same without any difference. So the two cables that go to the two SDRs are the exact same cable. They are about 24 inches long, very good quality coax, and there's no difference. So there's so many things that I look when people compare both. I'm because let's face it, when you compare two radios, two SDRs, there's a lot of things that could be different. And here I have invested in making things exactly the same when testing out, you know? Salut Gilles, un autre Gilles de la France, F0DUD. Bienvenue. Nice to have another Gilles from France. Matt says, if I were a hardcore signal analyst, I'd splurge on a Perseus or RF Space SDR anyway. Yeah, absolutely. David says, AirSpy versus competition could be. It's true USEF is somewhat stiff sometimes. My AirSpy HF Plus dual port failed after one do-it-yourself bias T of mine leaked some DC on its RF input. I exposed the issue on Twitter, and let's say he didn't like it too much. That being said, I got really satisfied with the performance, so given the fault was mine, I went ahead and got the HF Plus Discovery. I don't regret my decision, as the performance is really good too. And a wide visible bandwidth is not something I desperately need. You know, and like it just joins what I say. But I'm not saying it's no good. I say it's a good performer. That's all. And that's the thing. And, you know, be happy with it. It's all that I can say. I mean, honestly. It's great, you know. I have nothing else to say. For my personal performance, my personal opinion, because of some of the things that I like specific to an SDR, there are things that I prefer with the SDR play. For the rest, performance for me is the same thing. But you know, that's the thing. It's you know, it's life, and I think we need to be open, and we need to be capable of talking about things. That's for sure. Catalan says, you are doing a great job. Thanks to you, I bought the RSP-1A and MLA-30. Well, that's a great pair. I mean, these two together, it's really amazing what you get on these radios. That's for sure. What else do we have? Anything else here? Just let me just go down here as fast. I'm getting behind again. Snow Puppy says, I can tell you that the Texan 9700DX sounds much more natural on AM than the Grunning G5, lower noise floor, less nasally, not getting imaging across, you know. Well, you shouldn't get images on the 97DX. I believe it's a dual conversion. So technically it shouldn't have or suffer from images. That's for sure. As for the sound, the noise floor, you know, sometimes one of the biggest things with radio sometimes is not necessarily that its noise floor is different, but because of the audio frequency response, it just sounds better. That's also something that could make a big difference in a hobby. You know, Steve Miller says, thank you for stepping up for the shortwave hobby. Well, that's what I do, and that's what I want to do. Ray Carlisi says, well said, Joe. You know, Terry Bendel, my new SDR Play DX was delivered yesterday. Wonderful device. Absolutely. It's a great device. Matt, KPH Morse transmission 647 7.5. If you don't have CW, you can tune, of course, kilohertz lower. One sent by machine, so it's good to use with decoding. Yeah, I think the KPH transmission is weekends only, right? It's like on only Saturdays or something like that. I don't know if I hear it here. 6. 4 7 6. See if I hear something here. Oops, that's not where I want to be. I'm not hearing it here. But I've heard it a few times in the past. Dennis, the DX402 seems like a nice radio. I've got the DX440 and it's just okay. Yeah, those realistics were nice. They're not the big DX machines, but they're nice. Dennis Mays just picked up a RadioWow R108 from Amazon. Interested to see how well it works. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. And the other, also the other positive thing I will say about the AirSpy, and maybe a future SDR Play device could use that. I think also one thing that's not bad is the fact that there's an upgradable firmware on it, which means you could basically be checking it out and changing some features or making some things better thanks to that. That also is not a bad idea behind it. Terry Bendel, HairSpy is a toy in my opinion. Secure says the environment is responsible for your noise floor. Your antenna ultimately determines your efficiency, which receive and transmit. Yep. Absolutely. That says, given that a lot of people say Discovery HF Plus is more sensitive, I can't say that I've found that to be the case either. Like Gilles, I have that in the RSPDX. So, especially, what, when somebody says it's more sensitive, I can live with that. Where I've had a lot of difficulty with the comments when somebody said, my waterfall on shortwave with AirSpy has way more signals than the RSPDX. That's where I looked at a picture once and I said, that's not possible. That's not possible. And I confirmed that that's not possible. I'm sorry. You haven't rigged it up right, or you intentionally wanted to make the SDR Play device look bad. That, maybe. Who knows? We never know, eh? Could somebody somewhere be pushing something because they want the other device to look bad? Who knows? I'm not sending any speculations here. But from my observations, it is impossible you see more signals on the waterfall here on one than the other. You'll see the same exact signals with the same strength. Where I see the difference is more into, weren't you using the same software, the same settings, the antenna? Nothing on 6960. That's more where you are, It's it's the thing, and the rest. What I see in audio difference, what I see in what I hear, a lot of it has to do with the software. I noticed that SDR console definitely has a softer sound than SDR Uno. I have noticed that. Maybe one of the things SDR Uno should have better is a better way of processing the audio. I don't know, or maybe add a nice equalizer or something so we can really play and tweak the audio a lot more. For sure. Christopher Cullen says, got a great price on the Texan PL990X. Love listening to North Korean DX from UK. Got on top of the mountain with long wire antenna. Cool. Great radio. Terry Cook, like all radio receivers and transceiver brands, personal preferences have a lot to do with operator satisfaction. Absolutely, Terry. Yeah, totally right. Totally right. That's why we got to be careful also, talking about radios, because I often want to say all the time is the radio you have, if you're happy with it, that's all that counts. And let's not go crazy over the rest. That's, you're happy with it, and we also got to be careful. And another thing is we can talk about what we like, what we don't like, what we find one better than the other. But we got to understand also that somebody somewhere has that radio, only that radio. And you might not think it's the best in the world, but you're not here either to, make that thing look bad and that person feel bad that has that radio and come back to you and saying, well, I got that crappy thing. No, we're not here for that. We're here, whatever you have, you got to deal with it and you got to use it. And that's what you have. And we got to be careful not to hurt the feelings of the people also at the same time. I've noticed over time, talking about radios, giving my opinion, it's a very sensitive issue for a lot of people. If you talk negative about a radio that somebody owns, you might have an email or a comment of, well, you're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about and you're an idiot. And I get that all the time. It's very simple. I get that all the time. That's life. And we've got to, I got the link, Kimberly, by the way, K6YYL for your channel. I'll promote it. You'll see. So, we also got to be careful because we don't all have the same money, the same radios. And, I got a comment this week when somebody saw the picture of my Icon, my CRD 500, the Yaesu FT450. The comment was, wow, you're a rich guy. Yeah, you gotta be careful as what people think and whatever it's a delicate situation sometimes, for sure. Matt says SDR console stutters for me. I can totally notice it if I'm tuned to a time signal, but it also apparent when decoding digital modes, usually disappointing. I have noticed that on my Core i5 older machine, SDR console does not work great. And it works great, but on my newer machine, which is has very high performance in it. So I don't know exactly what to think, but it seems to be a little, I don't know if it's the way that it's working or something. It's crazy. What else do we have? Christopher Cullen says, tried to travel to the Philippines twice a year. Shortwave there is amazing on the Texan PL600. Yeah, it must be something interesting to listen to for sure. Matt says, end up using HD SDR by default. One thing that happens with SDR console for me is if I do a screen recording of SDR console and a signal, sometimes OBS Studio freezes up, and it only does that when SDR console is running. It doesn't do that with anything else. Tony Magnier, nice to have you here from the south coast of Ireland. And have you any thoughts on the Malahit SDRs? Yeah, well, it's difficult to have a real comment on that because there's a lot of different things going on. The Chinese version seemed to be bad according to a lot of people. The original Russian one is kind of impossible to get, so it's a very difficult thing to look at. Erica Chell, I intended to talk by Rob Sherwood, NC0B. Sensitivity is not an issue. It is more an issue of receiving weak signals next to strong ones and strong signals overloading or reducing sensitivity. So it's more in the dynamic range, because that's what dynamic range is all about. getting a strong signal next to a weaker one. So we would have to try to see that. There's one thing that I noticed, and that's also something that made me curious. I was listening to, so when they removed the snow here, the trucks that actually are behind the snowblower that get all the snow, and they go and dump it in a big hole, basically. They are privately owned trucks, regular trucks. And these guys all have CBs, so they talk to each other when there's snow removal. So, of course, I listen on the CB. But I was listening on the same channel with these guys that were on the street here, both on the RSPDX and on the AirSpy. A couple of them were so strong, and of course, they were just outside in the street. My loop's on the balcony was really close. I could see with the waterfall here and the way that it was reacting, I could see that when they would talk, sensitivity went down because the signal was so strong. But I noticed that the AirSpy did the same because I could see it on both exactly the same. Now, it didn't come to mind to look if the difference in that was better on the AirSpy. I think that would have been a good test. If the difference on the AirSpy makes it less, if one is less sensitive than the other when that happens, okay, maybe in the dynamic range, there's something that could be happening there. So, but yeah, okay. That could be something to look at for sure. So, okay. We'll be checking that. Tony Magnus is using our SDR RSPDX, probably. MLA 30 plus here, hearing weakish radio stations around 160 meter band, but these are just images of stations on higher. Actually, it's the other way around. On the RSPDX, depending on its low frequency setting, it's not impossible you're hearing the medium wave band. Strong signals from the medium wave bands creep up a little bit on the 160 meter and the 2 megahertz range. It's not impossible. It has to do with the settings of the low frequency. Usually when you set the low frequency right, it doesn't happen. That is one negative little side of the RSPDX, for sure. Christopher Cullen says, bring back Radio Moscow World Service and Swiss Radio International. Solar Drew, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Solar Drew, give us your best radio voice demonstration. What the hell do you want me to do? I got that big voice, so, I know it's very radio-like. And you're watching the Shortwave Radio Show live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Come on down. Let's start the show. Vince says, for the Russian radio, it really worked like that. I found the guy, and you have to email him. He will make it for you, and it takes some time. That's the only way to have the real one. Okay. I'm more or less interested in a way because I want something. Since my channel is very general and it appeals to general shortwave, people, or radio people. I also don't want to have a radio that's difficult to get because no one has one. Anyways, I'll check it out. We'll see what's going to happen with that for sure. What else do we have? Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you here. Crittenden Total 4, happy Saturday. You make my day. I have a picture of my MLA 30 covered ice from last week's storm, and that wiped out a lot of power. The antenna thawed out and works perfect. Yeah. It's I've had mine 2 winters in a row now. That thing goes through everything. Works great. Snow Puppy says, oh yeah, please post a picture on Facebook. I want to see that. That'd be nice to see. Snow Puppy says, my Kato 1107 dual conversion and images strongly across shortwave. Oh, that's interesting, because a dual conversion should not usually. Maybe it's different. Maybe it overloads. Maybe that's what's happening. Vitor Miguel, nice to have you here from Portugal. Mobile armored strike command. For those of you who have radios, lock up a specification on the radios. Learn about your radios. Yeah, Take care, one amigo. Stay safe. Thanks for the donations once again. Matt says, my trouble with SDR Uno is that it tends to sound a lot noisier than other software. I always need to use noise reducer. That is what I was mentioning earlier. I think it has to do a lot with the sound processing of the SDR. And I've come to see that the sound off of SDR console seems to be much more mellow, much more interesting. But I like SDR better, that's for sure. What else do we have? Aerial imaging, I get not wanting to hurt feelings, but radio bias type stuff becomes an issue when someone is seeking an honest comparison. I still hadn't committed to an SDR purchase, and I feel that the AirSpy it says this conversation was going on, and group and people were getting upset for simply my insistence of asking what was it that made the AirSpy better. Yeah, because people get very touchy when you get there. And I think there's an effect when people tend to think I have the best radio, but can't give you a real, they can't give you any proof or they can't say anything to actually convince you. They get frustrated. They only want you to just go into the, look, believe me, it's better. Here on the channel, if I say it's better, I give you examples. I'll post videos of that radio working, compare it with other radios. Make yourself your own opinion on the way that I'm testing it. Once again, not scientific, but just general. And, look at it. Do you find a difference? Do you find that's better than the other? And that's it. I'll give my positive, negative points of every device. And that's it. I might, I think everybody can have a little bias on something sometimes. But I try to be as neutral as possible on everything that I have to say here. I don't want to push a radio over another one. I just want you guys to visualize stuff and say, okay, I'm going to buy that one. That's what seems to be the best choice based on what I hear and what I see. But it definitely hurts feelings. And some people are stubborn. They buy this thing and are just stubborn. This is the best. You buy something else? No, you should have bought this. This is the best. That's crap. I hear and see that a lot in the radio hobby. And that's where I don't want to be. I don't want to be that guy that is stubborn on something because of. I want to be that guy that this is my honest opinion and this is what I see. And this is what I see. I have nothing to convince me right now that the AirSpy is better. This is an observation of my own listening. if it is better, why don't you make videos showing it's better? Not, oh, look, I hear 10 times more signals on shortwave, because I won't believe your video. That's impossible. I know it's not the case. But, okay, if you show me I'm receiving this really strong signal on 15500 and that very weak one on 15505, better on the AirSpy because of its dynamic range than the SDR Play, I can accept that verdict because, okay, that could be true. And you guys give me an idea, because I'm trying to think if I could do in some way a test with that. Try to, for example, I'll that one I can test maybe. Cuba is always extremely strong here on 6,000 kilohertz at 05 UT. How about tonight at 05 UT? I try to tune the BBC from Ascension Island on 6005, which is always difficult because of Cuba on 6000. Is there one SDR that's going to give me a better signal or better listening experience? Okay, that's one test I could do maybe tonight. I'm going to check it out. That's for sure. But boy, people are sensitive and get easily upset, absolutely, with giving your opinion on stuff. And you got to be careful. And as Carl Icon says, absolutely. Don't forget that tomorrow, Radio Omorong broadcast for the Frisian community is going on from 16 to 17 UTC on 15215. That's from Issoudun, France transmitter site. I will surely post a video of that receiving that station tomorrow morning. Jim, anyone who buys any shortwave radio and spins the dial to listens is okay by me. They keep the hobby alive. Absolutely. Christopher Cullen says mainly low power shortwave broadcasters from the Philippines and the DX from China is out of the scale. Mini jammer and number stations heard. So kind of interesting. Gerardo says, I don't hear a lot about the Texan 2000 or S2000. Just bought a new one from Anonco, and the radio now has ATS and in shortwave. I love the radio. Cool. And that's the important thing. Just love the radio. Love tuning the bands with whatever you have. Robert Osborne, 9395, playing great Saturday night music. Sergeant Rock, thank you very much, and take care from Hawaii, my friend. How does the Texan PL990X perform with your AN loop antenna? I haven't tried it a lot, and I need to do it because I want to try that 1560 frequency that was that New York station is off now, and make a couple of videos for sure. King says, come on up. Brian and Vettenheimer, nice to have you on board. It feels like spring is on the way here in the Rockies. Wow. Here it's still winter, I can tell you that. Brian Vettenheimer says, my first try at a homemade loop has been very successful. That's cool. That's cool. Kamexi76, speaking of Russia, is there any Russian voice broadcast that can be picked up in North America? If so, do you know of any good frequencies? The only voice broadcast of that comes from Russia that can be heard is the number stations. Nothing really much more. Russian has pretty much all left shortwave. There's I know that there's some weather stations that aeronautical weather stations that are apparently on the air. There's a few things, but Russia is pretty quiet on shortwave now. Can tell you that. Ricardo says, a really handcrafted piece of radio from Russia. If that's not worth donating, I don't know what will. Yeah. I don't know. VT Radio, nice to have you here. Paul AA1SU, checking in for a short visit. And is CW contest. Cool. Cool. What else do we have? What's the best radio? That question. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's always a very tough one. Vince just installed the Tram 1411 outside today. Works really good, but I'm not sure how it will handle strong wind and ice. What do you think? Look, I've had a discount from Radio Shack. When I look at it, doesn't seem flimsy. It seems to be pretty much in the same thing, in the same league. Remember that the elements are very very thin, so the wind shock on high speed winds shouldn't be too bad. I've seen a few people that have that antenna outside for many years, and they say that it's great. So we could be surprised. Sometimes we got to be careful because we have an impression of, well, this bends a lot. Maybe it's going to break, but in reality, it's a good thing. You want to have something that bends rather than snaps. So time will tell. We're going to see. The biggest danger, I don't think wind is the biggest danger for it. I think, of course, we do have really high gusts of wind sometimes and thunderstorms. I think an ice storm would be more of what I'd be worried with it. But time will tell. We're going to leave it outside, so, time will tell. We'll be able to compare notes. Soldier Drew. Well, I had cranberry vodka, but it's over now. I'm soon to go eat some chicken. What else do we have? Yeah, with an X class, that's going to be a little more difficult for sure. Rudolph White, why do people get so upset? Someone said it earlier. It is okay to have personal preference, but they argue over this stuff like they are defending their football team or family member. But some people get very, very personal on stuff they buy, and then they just, I don't know. Some people go crazy over how they want to defend something that come on, it's just a radio. It's just a radio. RJD Dakota would have liked to have to take my XHJ D808 back to the 80s. Wow, what I would be able to find on it. Oh man, imagine an SDR like this in the 80s. Oh God. Speaking of the AM loop, am I the only one that finds that the external jack for it doesn't work on any radios? Actually, you got to be careful. A lot of portable radios, the external antenna jack does nothing on medium wave. Most portable radios, the external antenna jack is only for shortwave. It's exceptional that a radio uses the external jack. Does use the Texan or use one of the loops with the for medium wave. The Texan PL990X does, but it's because it's made to do so. A lot of the other, that's why that loop, for example, the AN200 is meant to be near the radio so that there's coupling going on, not plugged in necessarily with the antenna, with the antenna jack. David, I'm actually open to someday grabbing an RSPDX. I think I'd need to be able to take advantage of both in AirSpy positive. Let's say that let's say that where one doesn't reach, the other should do. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, that's the way it is, honestly. John Pickney, nice to have you on board. Kevin Michael here's CBC Calgary, Alberta on 1010 at night. Wow, with a Bose Wave radio, man. This is crazy. Yeah, better bend than break, that's for sure. Aerial imaging. I like to believe the best radio is one I don't own yet. That's why we buy more radios. Oh, this one's better. This one does that. Oh, this one has a red button. That'd be me. I remember looking at one radio once and it was like, yeah, it's an average performer, but I want it because it's red. It's like, are you buying a radio because it's red? Yeah, I'm buying a radio because it's red. It's like when I took the Texan PL368. I went to the website and said, oh, look at that. There's an orange one. I want an orange. Why do you buy it? Oh, because it's orange. But who cares? Mika Delmich says Adi Gayan radio on 6,000 killers via Russia is still active on a very limited frequency and not in Russian. Extremely difficult to hear. Wow, I didn't even know there was still a station active there. So, man, pretty crazy. I didn't even know. So, hey guys, we've been on for 3 hours and 40 minutes. Hope you enjoyed the show today. I'm going to go and cook some chicken. I've got a stuffed chicken recipe that looks so good. And then I'm going to come back here and do more radio tonight. I want to do some radio listening. I'll be listening on 2 portables and 2 SDRs at the same time, all 4 radios using the MLA30 with the multicoupler, just having fun. And pretty cool to have all of you here. Thanks for the guys. Thanks you guys for everybody that donated, by the way. And the next shows next week, don't forget that if you come back next week, so of course the Wednesday show is going to be there at 0000 UTC as usual, but next week, because of the Shortwave Festival virtual events that I have registered to, and a lot of you have, they go on Saturday up to the evening. I will not be live on Saturday. I will be live on Sunday, February the 28th at 20 hours Universal Time. So exceptionally, next week, the weekend show is Sunday, not Saturday. Just keep that in mind. So, yeah, I will. I've seen a lot of that. Also, the code channel, canceller, and capabilities of SDR Sharp. We'll check a lot of little stuff in there for sure. So thanks everybody for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show today. It's always nice to be here, and hope that you have a great rest of the weekend. And David wants to have Moscow Nights. So we will end with the usual Moscow Nights. And I want you guys to take care, stay safe. And I'm hungry. I'm gonna be happy to go eat. Radio Moscow. So take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe. And we are ending the show with Moscow Nights. Han Freelangy. Sorry that you missed the show. But take care, my friend. Well, the answer shouldn't suck. That's what's giving me my paycheck, guys. Don't forget about that. Mike, WDX50. Take care. I will enjoy my poultry, that's for sure. Stay safe, have fun, and take care, everyone, okay? It's always an honor to be here. This is the World Service of Radio Moscow. We're broadcasting on 37 frequencies all the time.